groups, singing groups. We even have a symphony that's operating in this end of the valley, the Nemo Philharmonic, that would like to have a performance venue. And often it's hard to get in because of the scheduling that is such a problem. Let me see. Yeah, there you go. We also use the auditorium for our Miss Payson pageant and the Miss Santa Quinn pageant because they draw such great big crowds. And they're all needing and wanting this premium space. We only have one that we can use all year round. And this has been putting a real strain on the scheduling of that concert hall for years. It hasn't been recently, it's been decades or more, at least a decade, I want to say. And why haven't you heard much about the problem? Well, fine arts people don't complain. They just kind of solve the problem and keep smiling and keep working. But I've observed for a lot of years that we're having trouble, more and more trouble scheduling this building. It's really hard. And at certain times of the year, you simply can't book the building. Some groups, even well-established groups like Payson Community, Payson Civic Crawl, have been booted out because they simply don't have the time to put the space for them to perform. And we have that situation right now. Our Payson Civic Crawl is on their way to Carnegie Hall, and they wanted to do a fundraising concert, but they couldn't get in the building because it was so overscheduled. And so they're going to be performing in our Payson City Banquet Hall. However, they wanted to use it as a fundraising opportunity, and they're very limited on tickets because of the venue being so small. It's also going to be inadequate for their numbers. They're a pretty large group, and they need quite a bit of space. They're going to have to import some choir risers and some sound walls and stuff so that they have a premium acoustic opportunity. Anyway, so that's kind of a situation that's come about. And poor Vicki Davis, she's a great girl. She schedules the building and has mentioned to me that there's such premium on space up there, and she's going to have to start turning community groups away. She's going to have to say no. There's simply no more room. We've been so grateful to the high school for providing these facilities. We're so happy that it's there, right? And it's been a great working relationship, but I think we've outgrown the ability to just depend on this high school. I would like to simply propose, we're in a small town anymore, we need a separate performance venue of some kind to accommodate these local groups. It's wonderful to have this high school, but we need more. The T-Meet has taken a load off, but we've even outgrown that. And so that's why I'm here tonight. About a decade ago, just to finish up, I attended a meeting in which the results of the feasibility study were done on whether the Jewish theater would be used in the case it was refurbished as a fine arts center. And I was very interested to find out that the results were overwhelmingly positive, that this facility, if it was refurbished, could be used all year round. It would be booked for all kinds of things, recitals, performances, small theater groups, even comedy shows, things like that. They found a real positive result in that, and I was very encouraged, and that it would be booked most of the time. I'm not saying that a separate performance venue has to be Jewish theater, but at this point it's kind of the most substantial option at the moment. But I am saying that as you consider the biking trails and other recreational opportunities that you're looking at, please, along with maybe the option you're looking at covering the pools, I was out there, one of the things that was kind of floating around at the meeting. They want to do that so it can be used year-round. There's also something else that could be used year-round. That's a performance facility. So please just consider that. Thanks for your time. I put together some letters from different members of our community who are performers and fine arts teachers. And I presented this to Doug at the meeting last Thursday. He really liked it. And he suggested that I come to you and also give you a collection of these letters. So I'd like to give these to you to have you to read at your leisure. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you for being involved. The individuals in here have made the fabric of Payson richer because of their service and their contributions. And junior high cafetorians don't quite do the trick for fine arts.
No, they don't.
So you really have the high school auditorium, because cafetoriums just,
I also can assure you that we do have our eye on fine arts, we really do, and the park tax has been something that's helped in that venue, and it's just a very young tax too, so we are taking it, and I appreciate the reminder for us. Anyone else would like to come up and come on up, Jenny Ruth?
Okay, I don't want to state my name. Last time I thought somebody knew me, so I didn't.
Of course I know you.
I know. I'm Jenny Ruth. And I'm here to do something. The Payson City for All, is going to, as Chrissy said, now we're going to be performing here at your banquet hall, and we want to give each one of you a ticket. I don't know if there are six of you. Okay, I want to give each one of you a ticket, and I hope that you can come. Linda will be there singing.
She's a member, I guess she's not going to say that.
I'm not singing. Oh, she's not.
She's singing tonight for us.
Make sure she does, please. She's really good. She sits by me. Do a good job, sorry, you're not going to be there. But you are invited, and we want to thank you, because we did receive park money, that's our tax money, and it's wonderful that we were given that opportunity to receive that. And we didn't use any of it for our New York trip, except we bought the music that we were having to use for that, and that's what we use the money for. And we hope you'll consider us again. It was a great lift, because, this music just to go to New York was quite a bit. And we hope that you'll be able to preview, this is a preview of what we're going to be doing in New York. And granted, it's not going to have the same acoustics, and we're not going to have the symphony orchestra we're going to have there on Carnegie Hall stage. But anybody that's here, we would love to have you come as well. There might be tickets that you can buy at the door. I'm not sure. When it's full, of course. But we do want to invite you, some of the high nephews that can come, and if not, we wish that somebody else. And we want to thank you again for your generosity and for allowing us to sing here. And I want to just reiterate what Christopher said. I don't know what we're going to do when we don't have a high school to sing anymore, and we're just one of the many groups. So I do hope you will listen to the discussion. Thank you.
Just so you and Jenny Ruth and everybody else knows, I'm coming with you to New York, so.
I know. Yes. Mayor Bill's coming on.
My friend's in the corral too, so it'll be wonderful.
And maybe if Mayor Bill said donate to Linda's fund, I could go.
Can you restate when it is?
One other thing I would like to say. There has been several businesses in this community that has been generous in donating money to, not everyone is able to go on their own. They just can't do it. So, and they've had hardships, several of them. So the community has been awesome. We appreciate it. We love you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, not seeing anyone, we'll go ahead and close the public forums. We'll go on to introduction of Miss Payson and her attendance. So come on up.
Mayor and Council, I want to take the opportunity to introduce Miss Payson. This is Sydney, and her first attendant, Julian, and the second attendant, Claire. So I've already had the opportunity working with these girls with Arbor Day. I'm really excited. They're beach fun. They're so excited to serve the community, and I'm really looking forward to this year. I keep them pretty busy with all the activities, and they're ready to get busy and help. So I'm going to have each one of them say a little bit first names, but I don't know the last name, so I'm going to have her to say a little bit about themselves.
Hey, hello. So I'm Sydney Fawcett. I'm your Miss Payson 2019. And I just want to say I'm so excited to be here and to serve the community and all the wonderful people in it. So my social impact that I'm going to be implementing in the community is kindness is the new classy, with an emphasis on individuals with special needs. And I just can't wait to implement that in the city and do lots of stuff with that. I am a senior at Salem Hills High School, and I'm planning on going to Snow College in the fall. And I just tried out for the dance team this Saturday, so we're just waiting to hear back. We're crossing fingers. But yeah, I just want to thank you so much for letting us be here, and we can't wait.
Hi, I'm Lillian Hepler. My parents are Natalie and Nathan Hepler. I have grown up in Payson my whole life, and I really love this community, and the fact that I get to service here is just an awesome opportunity. One thing that I just barely learned at Arbor Day was that each one of the old trees represents a fallen soldier, which is something that I never knew. So I'm really excited to be able to learn new things this year. I have a great Miss Payson. She's so awesome, and I'm super excited to be able to serve this year with her. I am a singer, and so I'll be performing this year as well. And I plan to go to UVU for commercial music and business.
Hi, I'm Clara Bettis, and I attend Payson High School. I'm so excited to serve our community of Payson, and yeah, I plan on attending Salt Lake Community College in fashion design. And I actually sewed and made this jumpsuit at the room. And I really hope to see you around and get to know you more. Thank you. Who's your mom and dad? Oh, my mother, like my parents are Natalie and Daniel Bettis. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Mike mentioned I was there that night at the competition, and you guys did very good. I'm very proud of you and how you're going to represent our state, so thank you. Okay, we'll go on to introduction of the new full-time employees. Melanie, you're up. Thank you, ladies, for being here.
Okay, as a council, we're excited to introduce two of our new key employees with Payson City. We have Daniel Hills, and he is our new facilities supervisor. I'm going to let him just say hello to you.
Hi, so I'm Daniel Hales. I live in Salem right now, and happy to be here, get the pool going, and get things going and on track. So good to be here.
Welcome, Daniel.
Welcome.
And then we also have Mackenzie Kerr-Rusick, and she is our aquatics manager and recreation specialist. And I'm going to let you first say hi and introduce yourself.
All right, so like she said, my name is Mackenzie, but most people know me as Mac. I'm originally from Idaho, but moved down to Utah a couple months ago. And recently got married. And so thought I'd stick around and make Utah a little bit of my home. So grew up swimming and teaching swimming lessons. Ran my own swim school for a long time, every summer between going to school. And yeah, so I'm excited to be working with the lifeguards, and nothing in my job would be possible without Daniel. So we're in it together, getting stuff done, but we're both brand new. So it's a lot of hit and miss, but it's been good, and I'm excited to work at the pool and with the people here in Payson.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. Okay, we'll move on to staff reports. I don't think we have any. Okay, then if we don't have any staff, oh, we do. Carl, come on up, Carl.
Sorry, I was saying hi real quick.
Oh, okay.
So public and mayor and council, just wanted to report a few things going on in the recreation world. We've recently held 2 youth school track days, and we'll have 2 more, one tomorrow for 3rd graders, all the 3rd graders in the surrounding elementary schools, which include as well, we still include the Santaquin schools. So there's 10 elementary schools coming, and then on Tuesday, we'll have the 4th graders. We've already done the 5th and 6th. They were great, wonderful days. If you missed those and you would like to join the youth track club, we are still taking registrations. We just started our practices last week with our youth track, so we're grateful that that's going on. Other programs we recently started that you may or may not be aware of are our youth fishing program. We just started last week as well, and our adult softball program started this week, and then next week youth baseball and softball. If you're still looking for programs in the summer, we have, of course, swimming lessons, as well as a youth tennis program that we're taking registrations for right now. So as you heard, the pool is on its way. I'd like to thank Daniel and Matt for all their hard work getting the pool ready. We're not quite there. Our inspection scheduled for the end of next week. We'll see how that goes. And Matt's been busy interviewing, hiring 80+ seasonal employees to work at the pool. So that's quite a lot of interviews and a lot of work to get them going. Just an update as well on the pickleball courts. As you can see, the main courts have been poured and the fencing is going in. The surface on the courts has been pushed back. We need to wait for a cure time, but we're also pushing back with weather, so that is continued to push back a little. The date is not firm, but we're looking in June or mid-June or maybe a little later because the heat has to be consistent enough for the surface. So they are coming. It has been a very wet spring, as we're all aware. Also in the petite needs, and we appreciate the park tax there, as we mentioned, for all the petite needs as well as purchase new lights to go in, LED lights throughout the building, and they'll be installed shortly. They are in as far as the product. Happy about that. And just an update on the park committee. Brian was there as well as Dave and supporting staff, but we did have a meeting this week and begin to review the applications, and then we'll meet again next Monday. And on May 16th, we should present those to you, or May 15th, next council meeting, present the committee's findings. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. Oh, go ahead.
Are you going to offer lessons when you open the pickleball?
Yeah, we'd love to offer lessons.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll probably offer some programs with lessons, introduction to the sport, and then I know Janine's already been working on a tournament for Labor Day as well for those that already know how to play. So.
I know that Spanish Fork is offering lessons starting the 1st of June.
Oh, that's great.
And I enrolled.
Good.
It's going to be ahead of the curve to the.
Pickleballs.
Is there going to be equipment to check out at the library as well?
Most likely we can do that. Yep,
Yeah,
for
we've
sure.
got two sets of pickleball.
Yeah, and we have some in our office already as well. We can combine it. That'd be great.
Well, I've had a lot of people from neighboring communities excited for the pickleball courts, so that means they're going to come here, and hopefully they spend some money here as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
Our community care, mayor, and city council, we did a prescription take that on Saturday, and the national event, and we participated in something to care for of drugs that we gave to the DEA and something in Florida. So that was a record high for us, for Payson, so we're proud of that.
Thank you, Kim. Any other staff would like to come speak with us? If not, we'll go ahead and move on to the council reports, starting with Councilman Christensen.
Well, I'd like to just say thank you to our emergency medical staff. They helped me out 2 weeks ago. They were great to work with. I slipped a disc in my back, and they were able to get me the medical care I needed. So that was why I missed last week, and I apologize last time. So I apologize about that. Really excited about what's going on in the city. Pickleball courts are great. I know that we have been looking at some options for theaters. We talked about buying the old Payson High School from them, but they talked us out of it. So it's definitely on our minds. They They left, so they must not have cared that much, right? Sorry, I had to. It was easy, right? As well, I have had some constituents reach out to me and have thanked the current city council. Just wanted to share that with you, that they are excited with the forward progression. Feel like we're coming out of the dark ages and the ball is rolling and things are moving forward. Got a lot of neat stuff going on and trying to balance it to keep the small town feel, but yet get those amenities that people want. We know it takes rooftops to do it, and we apologize that it makes us grow, but you gotta have one to get the other. And so, but I do appreciate the input that I've received. We love to hear from the community. It helps us to make our decisions. So thank you.
I just have one thing, is that when I went down to the League of Cities and Towns, and I learned something that looks like maybe a few of you that might work in the community, is I think it's called a public infrastructure district that I learned about. But first of all, it talked about this district you can form, and you put on the property tax. It's not on the city, it's not on their books, but it goes to the owners of the property. And I was thinking, oh, this might be great for our curb and gutter. And then I found out you had to have 100% buy-in for it. And I said, that's not going to work. But as they talked about later, they said you can gerrymander. And so I went and asked them, can you gerrymander enough to take one lot here, one lot here, one lot here? And they said yes. So we could just find the 100 or 200 that want to do this and have a special improvement district for the people who want curb and gutter. And anyway, something to look at.
The one-time gerrymandering is good.
Excuse me. I also learned a lot of things down there last week also. I learned how important it is for us to not be that we need to be transparent in everything that we do. I've heard Doug say that so many times, but it's so important that the council know, that the citizens need to know everything that's going on and what our decisions are. And we're lucky that we have the Facebook account, but don't be afraid to contact any of the council or to call down here to the city office if you've got a question. We don't want to keep anything from you citizens. We want you to know everything that's happening and the decisions that we made. Thank you.
I'd just like to agree with everything that you just said. That we do want to be transparent and open, and we do encourage questions. So please do question when you feel the need.
Yeah, I have been big on transparency and communication, and I've worked really hard, and hopefully that's benefited some of you out there. But yeah, it is interesting. I see a lot of people talk to each other online, and they talk to each other in the store, and for whatever reason we're really scary to talk to in real life. But if you get a problem, it's hard to solve it because we're not everywhere at all times. So just send us a message, send us an email, and if we disagree, at least if it's me, I can speak for myself, and I think I can speak for everyone. I'll tell you this is where we're at, and we'll have a discussion about it. Most of the time there's issues that I don't know about. And so it is a little frustrating here when we're trying to serve and we don't get a lot of feedback from the residents. They tell all their neighbors, but they never tell us. So email me, dougwelton@gmail.com, anytime, or any of the council members. If you've seen around, we hit one of the, last night, one of the cutouts in the road, the pressurized irrigation system's going in. So if you see the cutouts in the road, that's what it is. That'll be a great benefit for the community to make sure we all have water pressure. We probably still need to cone those a little bit better and fill them in a little bit. Now, I drove by it again earlier today, and it was still pretty deep on the corners.
Yeah, we reached out to the contractor, and the city knows. So
Okay, perfect.
Several.
But that's, so if you see some construction around town in the roads, we're upgrading the PI system. It was also really fun to go to the Parks, Recreation, and Transportation meeting as part of our general plan update and meet with a lot of people. I was wondering where our council were, but I guess the rest of the council might have been at the League of Cities and Towns. But it was really good to rub shoulders and talk to people who don't spend any money on recreation, cover our pool, give us a concert hall. There's a lot of different opinions, but it was really good to hear back from you. And your feedback is important. And if you still want to have some input on what the city looks like, it's not too late. Go to www.imaginepayson.com and you can fill out their survey for your transportation needs, your rec needs. But we really are trying to get as much public feedback as possible so we're as responsive to you and what you want as we possibly can. So if you haven't done it yet, even if you missed the meeting, you can do it online for the next little while. Good to see the channel is clear with all the rain that we had. It's good to have some rain and some cooling. And I'm with Brad, growth is exciting. It's scary a little bit when you go from a small town. But I feel like we're moving in a really positive direction and making some meaningful changes that are also conscientious and responsible to the community that we currently live in. So, thank you.
Thanks, Doug, you said it all.
Sorry.
I just wanted to thank Andre. I always thank her, but she's never here, and so I wanted to thank her. She's doing an awesome job in the chamber. I mean, that girl is putting in some time. We are going different directions, and it's awesome. So, thank you, Andre. And that's all.
That's it. Okay, we'll move on to number 5. I don't see any scouts. If we do have scouts, please let us know. We can take care of recognizing you. Okay, we'll move on to CTC, the Mayor's Youth Recognition Award. That's Communities That Care. Rebecca?
This is our last week of the school year, so we would like to congratulate Whitney Nielsen from Mount Leo Junior High. If she's here, she can come up. And her teachers say that Whitney Nielsen is a great example to everyone around her of what it means to be a great student as well as a great friend and person in general. She is regularly lifting people up around the school and helping them to be the best they can be. She's smart, responsible, and polite. When another teacher says that Whitney has all of the qualities that a successful person should possess. She's caring, friendly, and doesn't allow her personal desires to become more important than other people and their needs. She's a joy to have in class and eagerly engages with classwork and class discussions. She's also kind to all her peers and willingly helps other students.
Excuse me.
Linda's warming up to sing.
So our next one is Samantha Niasio. She can come up. Her teachers say that Samantha is the sweetest girl, and she always has a smile on her face, even when things are hard. She is always a positive role model, team player, and a great friend. She's a part of the LIA and has a super habit of being positive and kind all the time. Sam always strives to do her best and will ask questions of her peers and never causes a distraction in class. She often has a smile on her face and is a bright spot in her day. Congrats, Samantha from Payson Junior. Okay, and then our last one is Josh Leon from Payson High School. And his teachers say that he's a remarkable student. He is so impressive with his knowledge, respect, and dedication. He continually gets high scores on any tests, quizzes, or papers, and the most impressive is his work ethic. His teachers say that they've taught him for half of his high school career, and assignments have always been handed in on time and done with great quality. He is a fantastic representative of Payson High School and the community.
Good job.
And all you grandparents, you're proud. Proud grandparents. We got to get her back in Payson. Even her husband. I think he come too.
Rebecca and Kim, thank you for all that you do. We appreciate the work you do for the communities of Carroll. Okay, we'll move on to, it shows on the agenda that Mayor, team recognition of the junior high school state wrestling title, but they've not been able to come tonight, so we will reschedule them. And then we will number 8, chamber business of the month. It's you, Andrew, not Ty, huh?
No.
Sometimes we have to juggle our responsibilities. So welcome. I'm glad to be here tonight with you all. Thank you, Teresa. That was very nice of you to say. We are trying to work hard as a chamber to get a lot of things done and accomplished. It seems really slow and tedious, but we're getting it. We'll get there someday. We had a great Easter egg hunt this last month. Appreciate the support of the city and also the mayor and also the businesses. I feel like it went well for our first one, well, my first one on the gate, and we had a good time. We built lots of eggs, so that was the important part. We have our breakfast club coming up this month. It is on the 21st of May, and I believe it's always the third Tuesday. This month we'll be doing networking, and then we'll also be having the candy bomber that is coming. He was supposed to come earlier in the year, but he had a fall and then 96 or something. They wanted him to wait. So he'll be there on the 21st, and that should be a fun event. But why we're here tonight is actually, and we're changing the wording just a tad on this one, because it's not a business. It's actually a great member of our chamber, and it is, we like to represent and congratulate the Payson Bible Church. The Payson Bible Church, Jeremy, if you want to come up, is an integral part of our chambers. Pastor Jeremy has been on our board of directors this year and has been so kind and gracious in not only helping but also offering their church for us to come in. And they've been a big part of our community. I know that they do a lot of community events with their congregation, and we're proud to have them as part of the chamber and proud to recognize them as member of the month.
Well, yeah, it's a little different for a church to receive an award from the chamber, but we're always pleased to serve the city in different ways, and I'm a big fan of capitalism, so in the private sector, all the better, right? So we're thankful, and any way that we can continue to serve the community in new ways, just let us know.
Thank you.
Kevin, we'd like to get a picture.
You bet, Rusty.
Okay. You ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Mayor, before you go on,
Okay.
I just got a text from the applicant for item 1D, so the annexation. He is still on his way. It'll be another 5-10 minutes. I don't know if there's another item you want to discuss first, or I can just take a little more time on my presentation.
Go ahead and take,
Let's amend the agenda.
you want to just take a little bit more time?
He'll probably show up any moment. But
Okay.
There's another item that maybe will only take 5-10 minutes. If we can go to
Do we,
You want to go to,
are you ready for that motion?
well, we could. Yeah, we can go ahead and do that. Have a motion, yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we amend the agenda to allow us to move to the resolution to change the compensation for medical insurance.
That would be number 4. Yeah.
4 and 5.
Oh,
4. We're going to amend the agenda to do item number 5, item number 4, and then return to number 1.
yeah. Okay, there's been a motion made. Is there a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll go to resolution number 5, resolution to change compensation for mayor, city council insurance benefits.
Sorry, I got caught off guard. I thought we were doing wrong. The one person I had a little time. So mayor and council, we're looking at the benefits. This doesn't work.
That's not very loud, but it does work.
Something really weird about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we talked about offering the benefits the employees get at the same level, offering it to the council at the same level we do the employees. The current resolution that was adopted, I think back in 2011, allowed council members to be able to get health insurance that they needed or desired. But to do that, they would have to pay 50% of the premium. And the employees paid, depending on which plan, 6 or 10%. And so the request was if we could put the council on the same as the employees. And we looked at several cities, and some do, and some do it a little differently. There's many different variations. But I think a lot of cities do allow the benefit the same as the employee's benefit. So that's what's proposed. It's open for discussion, and if you don't have any discussion, then there is a resolution to choose to adopt that. Make that.
Any discussion with the council?
So how many cities are the same, do we know? Or like,
We've got a million, we have a list of them. I'm gonna see if I can turn this on.
I just sent out another survey to each of the HR, again, trying to verify and get us updated on that. And the majority of the cities, I would say it's well over half, offer benefits the same for the city, city council, or health insurance. They don't distinguish and have a different ratio. Because treat you guys like part-time employees, if you really getting your capacity as elected officials, and they don't offer it in that same way, so.
Just a couple of things, Melanie. So how much does the council get now for opting out?
You get, for the opt-out for the city council, for a single plan, they get 147, or 141.79, for a double, it's 292.02, and 377, per month, and it's proposed, to go, so, for a family plan, it's a little over 4,500 annually, and the proposal is to take that to 8,000 annually for a family.
Just from my perspective, I think, I don't mind us having the opportunity to have insurance, but for the council to be able to get $8,000 a year for not having insurance through the city, most of us have the opportunity to have insurance elsewhere. So I wouldn't be in favor of changing that opt-out amount.
the opt-out amount is 8,000, is it?
That's what it will be. If it's a family.
For the year?
If it's a double, it's less. It's 6, and if it's a single, it's 3. And that, the next item on the agenda talks about that as aside from it. As far as the council, if the council goes to the same limit as the other employees, that's what you'd be entitled to, unless you want to change the resolution any way you see it appropriate.
Well, I'm the only self-employed person here, so.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
So, okay. So currently, if we opt out,
But we're not doing the opt-out part right
No,
now.
it's
Just
we're
the
talking
coverage.
about the insurance
it
coverage,
would
yes.
still stay the same, right?
Resolution does include the opt-out.
Oh, it does? Oh, okay. Well, I thought that was what number 4 was for.
That's for an employee, this is for.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see.
It's given the council the same level as the employees. And so the next item could affect the number, but it does get you on the same plane. So, I mean, unless you want to change it, you could change to allow the members of the council to have insurance, but the same that if they choose not to have insurance, to stick with the original one. You know, you could do that. You can amend this. We put it forward to say if the council wants this benefit, it would be at the same rate as the employees. But you can, right now, if you opt out, you only get 50% of what the employees get. And if you take the insurance, you have to pay 50% of the premium instead of the lower amount. So you can mix and match anything you like. We just put it in the resolution as if you would be on the same plane as any of the full-time employees.
Right, the language states, the mayor and city council are eligible for the benefit, was proposed, is are eligible for the benefits program offered below pursuant to the same criteria as eligible full-time employees. So if you wanted any tweak, you could be comfortable with, say, help at the same rate, you didn't want to opt out, you could, get some language, modify it that way.
They say voting on things for us.
Well, we're all in the same boat.
You
But
know,
at the same time, I think there are members of the council that do use it from time to time, and it's tough. I know the mayor puts in a lot of hours, and I don't know if he uses the insurance or not, or it's better than some that are out there. Becomes an issue as well.
paying 50% of it takes all my.
Yeah, and that's kind of where it puts you, and I can see that direction. At the same time, I mean, the payout does save money if you go that way, and if it's.
So if I understand it right, Dave, the thing that we're considering, we can consider or the council can consider the percentage of being like a full-time, but we can play with the opting out amount.
Sure. I mean, there's some provisions here. So if you wanted to, both of you take insurance on the same plane, and if you choose not, a lesser amount. I mean, it's just a little history with Payson City. I've worked here for a long time, and I don't think the insurance benefit was ever offered to the city council until there was a request. I think, oh, that was good.
What happened?
Carl?
He must hit the wrong, or the right one. I was hitting the wrong one. But there was a request that a council member needed the insurance at times, so that's when we came up, I think in 2011, so it's been about 8 years ago for this, but the council would pay 50%. And now we're just looking, and like I say, we didn't go extensive to all the cities, but we looked, and a lot of cities do offer it at the same rate as the employees. So it's just an offer. If you choose not to do it, that's okay too. We just thought we'd put it forward.
So the refundable portion that you talked about, what were the other cities doing? Is it the same?
You have that. She can run and grab that. We sent out to all the employees. If it went to Payson, you may have received it. We tried to do an explanation of the stipend, and we showed many of the cities and what they do. There are 3 or 4 of them that do still stay at the 50% savings. There are some that even go to 60%, but the vast majority are a lot lower. We're proposing to level that out at 8,000 instead of 50%, and that was based on our benefits consultant, NFP. They looked at it and they've been negotiating with PEHP, and they're saying it really needs to be flattened out. It wasn't because of this issue with the council. It was it's pretty rich. We're probably on the high end of what we return back to the employees. Some of them are close to us. Some of them may be a little higher, but a lot of them are in the. She's going to get the list. I can give you some specific cities. Some of them don't give anything. Orange City does not give anything if you opt out. Some give 1,000, some give a couple of thousand, some give
4 and 5. And so we tried to balance. We felt like 8,000 for a family is still good, 6,000 for a double, and 3,000 for, and it does save the city money. If you decide to take the insurance, we have to pay, yeah.
Dave, you just need the list that she.
Is it there? She went up to grab, you have it?
I can tell you if there's no opt-out, then I opt in, which will cost the city more. Because the insurance the city has is better than what the district has.
Yeah, and that's where I'm sitting on the same boat. And I'm looking at this going, well, this balance is what the district is requiring me to pay out of pocket to make it happen. This is better, I could see. The pendulum might swing the other way for me as well. So
we're going to try to project it. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
So if you look down here, Draper City gives 24 annually, paid by paycheck. Tooele City's 33.13. Ephraim City pays 65% of the premium goes into a 401k. Mapleton City's 41.60. Logan 12. You can go down. I don't need to read through them all.
It should work.
Yeah. Oh, it does.
Yeah, it should work.
Here are a lot of the different cities. Linden City 6,000. Hurricane 7.
Sunset 72.
Heber's 50%. We don't know what their premiums are, but Brigham City's 25. So you can see there's a gamut.
Heber's would probably be fairly close to ours.
Yeah, I don't know who they have their coverage with. Salem City's 50%.
And I did have some employees reach out to me in regards to this, if we can kind of discuss them both at once, that it is a decrease from right now of over $1,000. And they're wondering how they're going to make their deductibles. They use other insurance and this to meet those deductibles, those high deductible plans. So I can see that being a concern to pull it back too far on them. We need to keep them in mind. Yeah, well, the only ones that are hard to tell are the ones that aren't giving you those. Harriman City does 50% of the premium. Heber City did 50%. There were 3 or 4 of them that were right there.
About this is you're not looking at the actual pay rates either, so you're not looking at the full picture.
Well, it's 50% of what their premiums are, and I would assume that.
Well, you get premiums, but they're hourly, they're salaries. Like if they're getting paid more or less here, that's one thing. If they're getting paid less and less, that's a different story that we're looking at.
Right.
We don't have all the information.
But I think this is just in regards to.
I don't think any of this deals with their salary. This is just.
No, I know it doesn't, but we're talking about overall compensation that you get back.
But if somebody took it and made the same amount of money.
Your insurance costs more, that's looking at your overall take-home compensation package, and not.
But what you're talking about is supplementing their insurance that they're buying from away from the city. Is that what you're talking about?
Well,
That's basically what it amounts to.
if I pay more for insurance, that affects how much I take home. If I pay less for insurance, that affects how much I take home. And then you factor that into my pay here, and then how much I'm paying out of pocket for insurance, whether it's here or here. That all factors into the overall payment that I receive from the city in one way or another. Right? And same thing, like if you cash out your insurance, that also factors into how much you pay your living on. So it's, I take from my paycheck and I take from what I'm paying or not paying into insurance, and that's how much I make as an employee.
I just kind of like the idea that it's more like the 6 to 10% instead of 50%.
Because, for like $860, I just opt out of it because it's not feasible.
To opt out of.
Yeah, because if it were more like the family and you can do it for the, 6 to 10%, then I can afford to buy that insurance, but I can't afford to buy it.
Yeah, there's 2 different issues. One is taking the insurance at the same rate as the city. The other is the stipend of how much we pay back if the employees choose not to.
And I mean, as an employee, I agree with that. Because what does it cost us? About $16,000 per employee?
$18,000.
So.
Well,
Right? It was currently at 50%.
Currently, the premium, and it's gonna go up 10%. Currently, for a family, we're paying just a little over 9. So if we go to this and cap it at 8, what Brett said is right. The employees that opt out that are on a family plan would lose $1,000 for the year.
It would still cover their deductible if they needed it.
It depends on what their plan is. If some of them that are in a high deductible plan, once you get, I mean, our high deductible plan for the city, once you hit the 5,000, you're done. They pay 100%. I don't know, we don't know what the specifics of each individual that's opted out, what their plan says.
But I know that, like, for me, I wouldn't opt out of Nebo school districts because they don't pay out that option. They pocket that difference, and so they just say, well, if you don't want it, that's your choice. That you're just missing out on that. That's like people that don't take their sick days when they're sick or their vacation days, they're just losing out on that pay. And
That's the way a lot of the businesses are now. I don't have opt out either, so
right.
so it's something that's not giving as much as it used to be, and the city still, a lot of cities do that, but obviously most of the cities don't do as much. So we take it, if we cut it to 8,000.
So just to clarify, if the council was to say, we want to be treated like the employees, that's a separate issue, and then we can decide on the other issue, what we're compensating.
We've got two resolutions. The first one deals with the council. The council is if you adopt the resolution as written, if those council members here today and in the future that decide to take the city's health insurance will do so at the same level of the city employees. Which right now it's not the city's pay. The council members that choose to take the insurance have to pay 50% of the premiums. You would also be on the same plane as the employees for what if you choose not to take the insurance, the stipend. It would move up more than what you get currently. And either one of those can change. You can keep it the same as 50%. You can do one at the employee level and leave the one at 50%. Or you can choose not to allow the council members to get a stipend back. However you want us to do it, if you want to table it and think about it, we can do that as well. We're trying to incorporate these into our budget, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as well, but just whatever the council feels comfortable with.
I just feel that, as council, we don't like to give ourselves more money, and it's just because we know what the budget is. I mean, it's like looking into the future. Is that going to, when we're not here, is that going to help the people maybe that are here that aren't here now?
Well, on the same, well, I mean, I do see the problem with voting ourselves more money, which makes us all uncomfortable. I think that we should be treated the same on the availability of the insurance, but I also look at it on both sides of it, that if we start to say, well, we're not going to give that money back, we're going to hold on to it for ourselves. There are 33 employees for Payson City who opt out. That's a $330,000 swing in cost if they change their mind and go the other direction. So that's where we kind of have to weigh that out. That's $250,000.
If they opt into insurance?
If they opt into the insurance, when we say, well, we're not going to give you that money anymore, we're going to cut it back and not make it worth your time. It's $250,000 we lose. So we kind of need to.
I'm sure that there are people that
see
were
the
opt
balance
in.
because of that. And so I mean, I'm just trying to weigh it out and look at it. Well, yeah, but they're both resolutions are here on the table.
Yeah, but we haven't talked about the other one yet.
Right.
So, so is there a motion that I can entertain?
I can make a motion that was still presented for us and go from there. And
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we accept the resolution number 05012019, amending the resolution 061610-B regarding amending section 301 of the Payson City Personnel Policy and establishing new criteria for elected officials, mayor and city council members, participation in the city's group health plan medical insurance, and amending chapter 3, section 3.1 of the Payson City Personnel Policy.
Okay, that was a long motion, but is there a second? Okay, there's been a motion and it's been seconded. Calls for a roll call vote, starting with Councilwoman Hyatt.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to number 4.
So that deals with the stipend amount for all the employees. And the proposal that we're making is that, based on the recommendation from our insurance company plus our consultant, is to cap that. So a family would get $8,000 paid back to them if they choose not to take the insurance. A double, just for a couple, would be $6,000, and a single would be $3,000. And it does cut what we've been paying, cuts that back a little bit from 50%. So for a family, it's a little over $1,000, like close to $1,000. I think it's close to the same with an individual and a couple, or a double.
I do like the fact that it's a set rate rather than a percentage, which may have to be looked at in 5 to 10 years down the road again. But right now, I think it could balance out and save the city a little bit. It's still a large enough amount of money that people are going to say, yeah, let's opt out, and it's not
But it's not gonna cost.
padding, it's not going to cost the city. Like I said, it's the same thing. It's going to save us $33,000. It might put some people in a pinch, which makes me really nervous, because there's nothing worse than trying to buy your medicine and you go to the doctor and it's a fortune, you know, to get those bills paid. So I worry about hitting them $1,000 right off the bat, but
So what's your deductible? I mean, is it, I don't know what, I guess it depends on what people's deductibles are. What's yours?
It depends on the plan they have.
Like the school.
ours is max out of pocket $6,700. We pay,
Okay.
I think it's $5,000 up front before they ever kick in
Yeah, I think
again.
that's what my daughter's is at the state too,
But
so
I-
you guys probably all have the same insurance.
Yeah. I know that at the hospital last week, they told me it was $3,700 is what I owed them.
Yeah, I don't think the opt-out is to make sure we cover another insurance. That's not the purpose of it. It's to keep it, have them have a choice so they can not take the Payson insurance so they can go someplace else, so it saves us money. That's the whole purpose of not to cover.
Well, I would think that it's because their spouse is already working someplace
Right,
else
paying
and they
that.
have a high deductible, so that, why have 2 insurances when you can have one that helps cover that deductible?
Right, but it's not so much the deductible, it's the whole plan, how much they have to pay and stuff like that. And the city has pretty good insurance.
So is what we're trying to do is sweeten the pot just enough that they'll jump ship and go
No,
get it from Nebo School District instead of here. I mean, honestly, it's where we're at. I mean, and that's why Doug and I are still with Nebo District instead of here, is because they don't sweeten the pot at all.
So if you came to our
It's all or
insurance,
none.
so if you
Yep.
came to our insurance, you wouldn't get anything from the other.
Not at all.
Yeah, well, and those are constructs. I asked the district about them. Those are kind of long-term constructs. The problem is they've done it so long that there's so many people that go without that it doesn't save them any money. But if it started that way, it's a different thing. But again, that then affects your overall pay scale. Like you're looking at bottom line. So an employee, I would guess everybody out here, they're looking, how much do I get paid at the end of the day?
I think
Like
the
how much,
employees,
because if you cut how much they're getting back if they opt out, you're cutting their pay.
I think the employees look at both options and see which one's best for them.
Well, sure, but there are benefits either way. Well,
Doesn't cheat the pay for the ones that have
it might, I mean, it depends on how they're getting their insurance. Or if they're not participating or whatever, I mean, that all factors in. I see what you're saying, but.
They have to opt out, they have to make you make that.
Under the Affordable Care Act,
Right,
you have to
or-
have coverage. You have to go with one or the other, or get out on the market. And it really doesn't make
Go out on the
sense.
market, it's lower.
It used to be years ago, you could be double covered, and so what your one didn't pay, your other insurance would pay the deductible. I don't think they allow that anymore, so you kind of have to choose. You have to be covered, so you have to choose one of them. It's just which one works best for the family. And
I think you can be double covered within the same organization. Doesn't Jill's what, husband worker, are you both covered, or so you just one or the other?
one or the other.
Okay.
I don't want it to be, well, it can be taken however. It was, I didn't look at it and say we're going to cut down on an employee benefit. We had our consultant came and said, look, you really need to look at flattening this out. And we want to be sensitive. We still looked, you looked at all those, and there are some of them we don't know, 50%, you don't know how much they're paying in premium. But it looks, if you look through that, 8,000 is still pretty high up on that list. So it was, I still thought it was fair to do what our consultants are saying is to cap it, but still to keep it up there where the people would want to use it and get the $8,000. I don't know how I don't know the other organizations where they're taking the insurance. If they offered 9, then they take our insurance and take the 9. It's a no-brainer. You just have to choose one or the other. And I still think it's fair, but if you're having consternation about it, you can leave it the same. We'll just we'll move forward and budget for it.
Well, one thing that I look at, one thing is that we've tried hard the last few years to increase salaries quite a bit. So that's one thing we work at. So we haven't been keeping the salaries down and then say, now we're going to put this down a little bit. But I do really have a hard time saying, I'm going to drop yours down to 8,000 and we just increased the city council by three or 4,000. I just have a really hard time with that. And so if we hadn't done the other, I could have voted for this, but I can't vote for this. Now we just passed this other to help us out. It just goes against my grain.
Is there something that we could do that the council would, if there's an opt-out, they don't get that benefit? If there's
For
an
the
opt-out?
council?
Yeah, for the council.
Well, yeah, on the last resolution, you could have
We
made
just
some
voted
amendment there, but it was passed as written, and that. So this resolution is for the city as a whole, all the employees.
In regard to,
Yeah, pretty much.
So pretty much that's all it's changing.
For a family, yeah, it goes a little over 9 to 8.
I know that I didn't talk
And
to,
to be fair, we are having a rate increase, so it would be 10% more than that. So it'd probably. Go ahead.
We've been working with PHP. PHP has also been down to the city today. I was working with, they were trying to get some more information from the underwriters. The email that I just got back from PHP, it says that having a richer than average medical premium stipend means that they're probably paying too much in this area and could probably come down even lower than what they're currently proposing. So they're still, recommending that we take a strong look, at the stipend, but, they're appreciative that at least we're trying to evaluate that so that we're trying to help the other plans and the other 78 employees that are trying to get the benefit. But if you are uncomfortable with that, just recognize that we may still have premium issues and higher increases because we have less on the plan and it's harder to spread that risk. And I understand the other consequences too, but if you, at a minimum, they're recommending at least we cap that. If you want to cap that closer to what the employees are currently at, say like maybe 9,000, and cap respectively going down that way, like 7, I think it was 7 in my sheet. But anyway, if you wanted to do a flat rate, is what I'm saying, rather than the 50%, they're saying at least look at having a flat rate. And if you want to make that closer,
You could cap it. You could cap it at what we paid out this year, and then moving forward, as rates increase, they would stay that. Then they would get the 9 for a family here on out, but then it would be capped at a flat rate too.
wonder if we could meet
There are a lot of
in the
options.
middle to make them happier, go 8,500 and cap it there. And then it doesn't feel like we settled at the low spot. We did, but I mean, that's not really resolving the problem.
Well, like I think Sarah or Melanie was saying, I think both our consultant and our insurance company saying cap it some way. We chose 8,000 and 6 and 3. If you want to do the higher and cap it there, then moving forward, it may be easier because we know that rate from here on out. It's just,
One thing too with employees, it's not going to be all of a sudden this is thrown on them in the last minute. So if we capped it closer to what it would be, and then they can plan for it in the future, knowing this is what's coming down the road too.
So if you did cap it, what we paid out this year, it would be, for a single, it'd be $3402.96. For a double, it'd be $7,008.48. And then for a family, it'd be $9,047.88. And
We could give Melanie round numbers to make her job easier.
I'm just hearing the whispers behind, can't we round it?
Can we add a decimal place there, 96.2, 0.9?
90,000, I think you're all locked out.
Just a point of procedure, you were discussing the last resolution. The council can entertain a motion to revisit that and to reopen that issue and to adjust that resolution if you desire to do that as it relates to this resolution. So it's not a closed for consideration if the council makes a motion to do that and that motion passes.
So what road is still about this one?
So I was on the phone with one for half an hour, 45 minutes the other day in regards to this, and I know it was giving him heartburn, worried about trying to make those payments. I mean, you're talking, if you go from 9,000 to 8,000, it's what, $90, $80 a month, something like that they're going to lose. And I know that prices go up and down, makes me a little nervous, but it would be nice to have it established. It would never change on them by some unforeseen reason. If insurance rates went down, I mean, now we're talking about rainbows and unicorns, right? If it ever went down, that price would go down. But see, now we've set it at a cap. That's where it sits. So if that does ever go down, which is a benefit to them.
I know when I was a full-time employee, I got $5,000 for opting out with my wife working, and that was only 2 years ago. It was $5,000. Well,
Well, that was just double insurance, not a family, right?
No, I opted out because I went with my wife.
You were a double, not a family.
No, that was just, yeah.
That was a double.
What is it right now for?
7,000.
7,000, so it's got 3,000.
So really, we got to put a cap on it.
Yeah, so if we went back to 2 years ago, where we were 2 years ago, lower than 8,000.
We'd recommend that you adopt the opt-out policy. And you can put whatever number you want in there. I think the thing, this only came about because of the Affordable Care Act. This is really not a benefit that needs to be paid. You can see some cities don't pay anything. It's not a benefit that employees should think that's my right to have. This is something that it benefits the city. It benefits the city if they use the other insurance. But it's not something like vacation where you can't take that away. It's a cap it where you will, but I think we need to approve the resolution with the opt-out policy, and then however you want to set those, if you want to keep it what it currently is, or if you want to round it.
Round it to
9,000 or 9,050 or 9,250.
I don't know. I feel like I'm the one that's the bad guy today, but I'm fine to do the resolution at the 8,000 and hope that I'm not tarred and feathered in toilet paper tonight.
Can't run very fast.
Hey, now, doesn't that make it a different kind of a hate crime? Because I'm disabled? Temporary disabled? I don't know. Can I get some kind of tag or sticker? But if you want, I can throw the resolution out there, we can vote on it and see where everybody is, the way it's written, if we want to amend it.
Well, yeah, just a couple of comments as I'm thinking through this. I didn't really put the two together like Brian had explained when I did this. So I'm going to talk about both resolutions a little bit, but we went back and we had 3 pay raises for employees, and we try to take care of them. And so to that end, where more than 50% of municipalities are doing the same thing for city councils, I don't think we're out of line. I didn't necessarily put it together with this other thing to see how that affects city employees. And so that is a concern. The first one, I don't have major heartache other than it's never easy to vote for something like that for yourself. But with this issue, yeah, we need to have a cap of some sort. I know it's not regular compensation, but anything like this, when people get used to it, whether they should or shouldn't because of whatever their insurance reasons are, you are effectively cutting their income, and you have to be mindful of that. And whether it should happen or shouldn't happen, but that's why I think you gotta look at the whole package, you know? It's not just insurance, it's insurance and pay and everything else like that affects their bottom line.
When do these employees come up for like a cost of living raise? Do they do those annually? How does that all work?
Every year we try to budget something in, we're gonna talk about the tentative budget here in a bit.
So would the cost of living raise come in at the same time this is coming the other direction and kind of maybe balance those?
It's really not a cost of living, but we have budgeted a percentage for each employee based on performance.
So I think that would resolve Doug's concern that it would balance those back out
Just
a little bit.
Just be aware that these two issues didn't come about at the same time. We've been talking with PEHP and NFP about capping this before the issue ever came up of putting this, the council on the same.
We've been concerned about the council benefits for a couple of years, but we just, again, we just haven't brought forward, as you guys too, have the concern, but we just want to make sure that everybody is being, treated fairly. And we know kind of you guys are in it for the money and things like that, but you do serve and put a lot of time in for the community.
You're pretty low on what you get paid. I'm not opposed if you want to cap it at what we currently have, and then the employees know, like, going forward. I just think whatever you do, I think a cap's a good idea going forward.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and insurance gets more expensive. And that all factors in. So we can say we want to get this pie in the sky, but if you're if we bring in this much money and insurance goes up this much, there's going to be a shortfall. And whether we like it or not, that's the reality we have to deal with. And I think having some sort of cap deals with that as hard as it is. Like, if your expenses go up, they go up. There's not another source of money that we can go to.
The Affordable Care Act is getting not affordable, but
the ultimate oxymoron.
Yeah.
I am fine if you want me to read that amendment in that way. I just have to pull up my notes here so I can see what's.
Anyway, I'm fine with the cap, just whatever.
Well, I have to add those value amounts to it is what the problem. Well, which way do we want to go? Would you like to change it, or do you want to leave the cap the same and go with it?
Make the motion and see what happens.
Well, what's the estimated cost difference again between 8 and 9, or what is it at right now?
It's currently right now at $9,047 for a family, and it's $8,000 for an individual.
32,000?
34 for an individual.
It'd probably cost the city an additional $33,000 if we left it what it is today. But that's fine, we can put that in the budget. We've had some good news on some of our budget we'll talk about. More than I thought it was going to be, so.
So are we wanting to split the difference or go down or keep it the same? I think we should have a discussion before we make them.
If you want to keep it, round it up at 9,000.
Let's go halfway. Anybody opposed to that? All right, I'm sure I'm going to butcher this, so lawyers, pay attention. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to amend Resolution 080311-B regarding compensating employees who opt out of medical coverage, and to authorize changes relative to Payson City's medical stipend and approval of a health insurance opt-out policy to the new standards of, should have got the numbers down. For an individual would be $3,200, for a family would be $6,500, and for two-party would be $6,500, and for a family would be $8,500. Did I get that right?
So what was the single?
The single was $3,200.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
32, 65, and 8,500, respectively.
Okay, the motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote starting with Councilman Christensen.
Aye.
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 Carries unanimous. Okay, we'll go back, I guess we'll go back to number 1. Jill, are we ready?
We are ready. And I want to thank the Mowers for being patient because we had to go on to those items. But we do have representatives of the Mauer family here that own the property, some of the property in the annexation, and then Ross Welch with Patterson Construction is here. He is the annexation sponsor. So I do have a presentation. I know that some of the Mauer families have already seen this presentation. I know Ross has, but I will go through it quickly just for the benefit of the city council and the staff that is here. Anyway, so the area that we're looking at. Okay, what did they put that? Yeah, he does. Okay, so as a little bit of background, this shows the area of the annexation. So it's a little bit of just locating and then some background. So Nebo Loop Road going up Payson Canyon is about in this location here. The Highline Canal comes around Tybee Mountain, Rocky Ridge, comes down in this location. This property is located east of the Highline Canal. The Payson View Estates development that Patterson Construction is working on is located on the Riley Orchards property in this location. So it's about 216 acres in that. As a little bit of background, this annexation was first submitted to Payson City in January of last year. And so there's been a lot of things that have come up through this review process that has delayed the applicant from moving forward. The first one was when he submitted the first annexation petition, a portion of the property or some of the property was not included in our annexation policy plan, and Utah code prohibits us from annexing property that's not in our annexation policy plan. So we had to go and make some amendments there. But once we got through the annexation policy plan amendments, it was accepted for further review again on November 7th of last year. The annexation petition was certified by the city recorder. We had the protest period. There was no qualified protests that were filed. We sent notice of the pending annexation to all property owners. So there's different members of the Mauer family that were notified, as well as some entities of some LLCs that are under the Patterson Construction umbrella. So we've sent it to them as well. And then also through that time, we were working with the applicant. He's prepared a conceptual layout, which I do have a copy of, of how he'd like to develop the property. And then annexation is regulated by Utah code and city ordinance, and so the applicant or the annexation sponsors had to make sure that he meets not only city ordinance but Utah code requirements, and has done that. So the annexation policy plan, as I mentioned, had to be amended. So this area here, the majority of this purple area here was not included as part of our annexation policy plan, so that's what we had to amend last year. And there was very specific state requirements that had to be met in order for that amendment to happen, and that did take several months. So petition details, the annexation consists of about 216 acres. There's 8 parcels. The petition has been signed by all of the owners that are listed there, so it exceeded the minimum requirements in state code. The annexation sponsor is also proposing to dedicate, as part of development, approximately 146 acres to Payson City. So the majority of this land will be dedicated to Payson City. This is the boundaries of the map. You've got the Highline Canal that's here on the west side of the annexation, Payson View Estates development to the north. There is a mountain range that goes through here, and some of this property actually continues on the east side of that mountain along. It's actually shy of the Nebo Loop Road. There is one private landowner that owns a parcel here before the road, but that just shows that it actually does go from one side of the mountain to the next, which we refer to as Mauer Mountain. So land uses and zoning designation. So the current uses on the property, and I have a map that shows this. There's a water tank that has been constructed on the site, and it provides the water necessary for the upper
phases of the Payson View Estates development. There's a high-pressure gas line that goes through the property. There's a broadband services site on the property. And then the Highline Canal, of course, actually, the portion of the Highline Canal is actually included in the annexation. And so we did send notification to the Highline Canal of this annexation. And then there is like a gravel pit area. It's not necessarily a gravel mining operation there, but there is an area there that there has been some gravel and road base has got extracted from that. Proposed uses is that the existing uses continue following annexation, and the applicant's intentions with this property is to have a residential development, so an additional phase of Payson View Estates. The general plan shows it as medium density as far as land use. Proposed zoning would be the R112 zone, and I'll show you why. And then just as an overview of the development, the applicant is looking at doing a planned residential development to accommodate the number of lots that he would need in order for this to make sense from them from a business standpoint. And then they're proposing single-family dwellings and lot size ranging from 6,600 square feet all the way up to over an acre, so up to 50,000 plus square feet. And when you look at just the developable acreage that they can do and look at the range of the lots and the number of lots, is about 2.5 units, 2.7 units to the acre. And so it is fairly low density still. So this is the property that's located, okay, so you have the Riley Orchard that's here. You have the High Line, which is a very distinguishable landmark there that comes along. Spring Lake Elementary School is here. Springside Meadows development in this location. Over here is Payson Canyon Road. This is actually the upper PI pond. This is Payson View Estates. So the area that we're looking at is this property here, roughly. So you have a high pressure gas line that goes along the division right here. You have that gravel area here. The water tank that I refer to that's on the property is actually in this location. So as you can see, there's a few trails and things that have been made up there, even though it's private property. You know, I know that the applicants had some cattle, or the property owners have had some cattle and different things that have been on that property there. But for the most part, it's just been vacant land that's been used for, you know, a limited number of uses. And so as I mentioned, 1900 South that goes, which is the main artery that will go through Springside Meadows and out to the highway, is in about this location. And so the annexation boundaries are about like this, across the mountain, and then over closer to Nebo Loop Road. But that gives you a little perspective that there is a lot of property there, included in this development, but a majority of it is steep hillsides and cannot be developed. And just the area that applicant's looking at for development is right there. So the general plan shows a medium density, and so the area that we're looking at, that the applicant's looking at developing here, does show on our general plan as it would be residential, which is medium density, which is 3.8 units to the acre or 1.1 to 3.8 units to the acre. So the applicant looking at a 2.57 units to the acre is right in line with that range shown on the general plan. So it is consistent with the general plan. Zoning designation, the reason the applicant is looking at the R112 zoning is a couple of reasons. One is what is already in Payson City is zone R112, so it would be very consistent with what's already in the neighborhood. And then secondly, recognizing that he only has a certain amount of acres that can be used for development purposes. Of course, he has to have a certain number of lots. And so with the R112 zoning, with the planned residential development, he can achieve that, that number needed for this project. So compliance with city ordinances, the applicant has provided a layout. So, and this has our red line notes on that. But anyway, so this is the area that the applicant can develop. The rest of everything else in green is steep hillsides or the area that may be above what could be served by the water tank. And so the area in green is that 146 acres that's proposed to be dedicated to Payson City. So,
quick question,
yes.
Does that put him above pressurized irrigation levels, or are they still below that?
Most everything that is above the Highline Canal, that with the exception of the homes that are adjacent to Riley Drive, all of the rest of the homes are on a single source water system. So it's culinary water use, indoor, outdoor.
Okay.
So that's the current arrangement for this, even the current Payson View Estates. And that would be the same here. And so So anyway, so that's what, we're not looking at the development now, but I know it's always good to visualize, you know, how much would be dedicated to the city and what could be developed. But we have looked at this conceptual drawing. We, as you can see, we've indicated several notes that the applicant would need to address during the development process. So those will need to be done. Because of the number of lots that are east of the Highline Canal, staff feels that there needs to be another crossing of the Highline Canal in order to have another outlet for this entire development. Right now, there's I guess 3. You've got one that comes up of Canyon Road, you have one at about 1250 South, and then one at 1550 South. And that we feel with the number of the increased lots and another outlet. So we've talked to the applicant about that. However, there's another entity that we have to work with that's not here tonight, and that's the Highline Canal Company. They have certain rules and regulations in order for those crossings. The applicant will need to work through that. This area, any area above the Highline Canal is included in our wildland urban interface zone. And so any development in this area would need to meet the requirements of the wildland urban interface. They also need to work with Highline Canal Company and the Bureau of Reclamation, as I mentioned. They do have that facility that runs across there.
When will the Highline Canal be closed in? What's the timeline on that?
I don't have any information on that. I know that they've completed a lot of analysis on that, but I don't think that there's any projection in Travis. I don't know if you have more information.
Is that the one that they're putting the high pressure water through, or is that the?
No, there's a different alignment for the ULS line. So, anyway, so got to work with those canal companies. We got to work with them on that. Also, we need to look at some long-term preservation tools for the hillside, and I'll address that in a minute. And then, of course, with most annexations, we do have an annexation agreement that lists these items that would need to be addressed at the time of development review. So public input recommendation or decision. So public hearing was conducted with the Planning Commission back in February. A copy of those minutes were included in your packet. And so it's not anticipated that there will be more public comment, but if you felt like more public comment was needed, you're more than welcome to, it's at your discretion. So the Planning Commission recommendation, overall, they were comfortable with the development and developing land. The concern was, how do we protect the area that will be dedicated to Payson City from future development? Recognizing that a future council may look at it as an opportunity to build homes on it. And that's not what is intended even by the applicant. The applicant sees that that property would be better utilized as open space for mountain bike trails, other recreation opportunities, which I think falls in line with the branding of our community. And so he wants to realize that, I mean, he wants to see that stay in its natural state for, you know, in perpetuity if at all possible. Planning Commission was concerned of, you know, what can we do on the property in order to prevent that from being developed at some point in the future. So the recommendation of the Planning Commission was to include the property in a perpetual conservation easement that's held by an accredited land trust, and so that would not happen in the future. There's a couple of other ways that we can protect that land also, and I know that the applicant wanted to speak to those during his presentation because he was a little concerned about the conservation easement option. So that's the Planning Commission recommendation. Planning Commission was just concerned about land management and financing. You know, making sure if we're taking on this 146 acres, what is that going to cost the city in order to maintain it? Or, you know, there was a number of things.
Do you maintain a mountainside? Other than like retaining walls, so it doesn't like
right. I think part of the concern was, you know, wildfire or landslides or something like that. You know, if something like that occurs on that land and we own it, how are we gonna maintain it or prevent that? And then decision of the City Council, you can remand it back to staff for additional review or revision if you felt it was necessary. You can approve with conditions or deny because it is a legislative action of the City Council. So then, of course, any motion should include findings. Once again, this is the layout. I can go back to any of those slides that may help you with any questions, but that is the end of my presentation. And then Ross Welch with Patterson Construction is here. As I mentioned, he may want to speak to some of these items before you deliberate and make a decision on that. And then we do have representatives of the Mauer family here. If you have any questions specific to the land that maybe they could assist you with. But other than that, that is my presentation.
Can you go back to the aerial view slide? There's like a drone shot or something like that.
The Google Earth one, that one right there. How steep is that mountain really? I mean, I can see there's kind of a dirt road. Is that accessible with the, can you drive over that?
That's not a dirt road, that's the the one that's coming.
This one here?
That one is the Nephi City gas line.
The other gas line.
Nephi City has a gas line that runs
That comes
right
here.
down that. It's an access road. It's not a regular travel road. It's an access road for the gas people.
Because you have a gas line
Okay.
here, and then you have another gas line that comes down.
That one, Nephi City, is the one that runs right down the property line. It's high pressure. If
That's the one
rolling,
that they turned off during the fires. That's when Nephi got nervous, they were running out of gas, right? That was my understanding.
They turned it off up in the canyon, but they charged the line, and so they would have more gas.
No, I just, as you were talking about the different options of use, I can clearly see that, I mean, I used to ride my ATVs up there when I was younger, in my crazy days. But I'm not gonna confess to that, it was, my friends did it. My
You may
friends did
have
it.
had, you may have had Jim chasing after you.
You may have done, and I apologize, it was in my younger days and I have a lot more respect.
That's right. I've been up there.
But you had mentioned like the possibility of trails, bicycle trails and different, and I worry if we put it into that conservation, that those kind of things would be really limited, which makes me nervous, because I think if you could get some sort of road up to there, a parking lot up on top, and then run some bicycle trails, that's why I was asking how accessible it is, but I think it's too steep for that kind of stuff.
I think, Ross, you have some suggestions other than the trust, is that right?
Yes. Brett wants
Love-
Mason's version of Squaw Peak.
Amen.
Love to hear from you.
No, I don't want to.
That's a good idea.
But if there was even if you put a parking lot at the base, just up on the edge where you could go and kind of as a base to go out. I know that we have that problem at Fort Bay where they don't have any way to bike from that point because we don't own a parking lot in that area. And so we infringe, and with the branding, I would like to see, yeah, hey, we've got these two areas on either side. You know, you can come in, you can park here, you can hike up and see this. It's not, in the dead of summer, it's not the most pleasant place in the world to sit because it kind of dries out, but at the same time, I'd love to hear what you have as an idea.
Monocross.
Ross Welch with Patterson Construction. I need to start with an apology to you for being late. I apologize for that. I appreciate your willingness to put this issue off for a little while. I need to apologize to Carl and Mary and Jim for making them sit through the insurance discussion because of my tardiness.
We're sorry too.
Carl's going to kick my butt when I get out. But anyway, the other thing is, I'm not going to take full responsibility for my tardiness because I got a text from Jill saying, drive safely, no speeding tickets. That affected my ability to be here on a timely basis, so I'm not going to take full responsibility. But anyway, yeah, we're excited by this product. We think it's going to be a great place for development. I did want to speak because it will be an extension to what we have in our Payson View Estates. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the open space. So we're dedicating about 2/3 of the property to the city. And I heard the Planning Commission's comments about the concern that the city could develop it or something. And, you know, indirectly for us as developers, if we donate ground, we don't necessarily like to see it be developed either. But more importantly for us, we're donating it to the city of Payson. And we want the city of Payson to do with it what they want. And I have concern of turning it over to an organization to administer a conservation easement who they're not even of Payson, right? They're outside of Payson. And we're kind of losing control of it that way. I prefer just to say part of the annexation agreement is we just donate the ground at Payson City. We can do trails, mountain bike trails, all sorts of different things. If the city at some time says, you know what, we need another water tank up there, then there's no problem with doing it. If they decide, hey, we want to make a water slide or a zip line or something, we can do it. We can do whatever we want to do with this property because it's ours as a community. And that's the way I'd prefer it to be, as opposed to placing any type of conservation easement on top of it. So, I mean, and even maybe, 20 years from now, who knows what you could do in terms of even and I don't want to use the term a mobile tower or anything, but there could be something that could lease, because it is very visible and accessible, that ground could have some commercial value without being an eyesore to the community. So I'm just saying I would, as the applicant, would appreciate that we look at this as more as a gift to the city that the city retains.
Are the Mowers okay with that kind of arrangement, if it's left as a little bit more open-ended and less restrictive? Because as the city council, that's definitely the way I would rather have it. Because if we do need another water tower, you're going to get a lot of pressure off one that's up there. You got to get the water to it.
Right.
I think that'd be great, I really do.
Are there any questions for me as applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know who the question's for, but I've jotted down a few, and I apologize. I definitely am the guy that thinks outside the box. And I know that Jill had mentioned the ULS line that's coming in, that we're required to buy water from regardless of whether or not we want it, right? Is that the same line that we're talking about, Dave?
So repeat that.
Which one's that?
The high pressure, the strawberry water coming the
Oh, the CUP.
CUP.
Yeah, so the
CUP
so
line.
the ULS line.
Yeah, is
ULS, like the Central Utah Water Conservancy District.
Right.
So,
But I know that it comes in pressurized, and I don't know what it would cost to tap into our access point at that, throw a PRV on it and regulate the amount of water, but we could push water that far up the hill.
that is a note that we put. So Patterson Construction has submitted their next phase in Payson View, and it's here
Okay.
on the north side. That note has actually been included on those drawings to start having the discussion.
Okay.
To see, because if you're going to have that new irrigation facility and it's pressurized, so you can have that, but we will have to continue having discussions with the applicant because they have invested a certain amount of money into a single source water system.
Right.
That we would need to discuss whether or not they're willing to participate in that, or to what level the city would participate, or
At what point, I mean,
Right.
do we throw lines in there on the anticipation that they'll be used in 10 to 15 years? It seems to me like that's not exactly a move in the right direction, in my opinion. I know that we've done the same with the single use out on Arrowhead Trail. I think they did put the PI lines in, correct? Or are they not in now?
they have not I think they have put the PI lines in the development, they haven't put the PI line in Arrowhead Trail.
Arrowhead Trail, right. So this would be a similar situation. That one can be powered under our current system, it's just us getting to them. This would be a different scenario, and I don't know the feasibility. I mean, I don't want to come in and say, yeah, we'll take your 116 acres, but we're going to charge you an extra $2 million to put PI lines in that you're not going to use. So, I'm putting it out there just as a discussion, that if it's us that has to come back and add that secondary line later, or if it's something that can be done now.
And I think that opportunity's there,
Right.
and I appreciate you bringing it up, because we do
'Cause I-
have that discussion to weigh the options.
And I know that when they came in and were talking about the CUP line, I did a little research. Technically, you could push water all the way to Payson Lakes. It would push water to Big Box Lake. It would be at zero pressure when it entered the lake, but it is, that and Strawberry Reservoir are at identical heights and altitude. That's where I did my research back, because I was curious if we could push it up using that pressure and regenerate our own systems. So I did my due diligence on that. Travis, see, I did check something out. So I know that with the PRV, we could regulate that water pressure to where it needs to be to push it above our actual water sources. You couldn't tie it into the existing ponds because that balance wouldn't work. But so, and it looks pretty dry, and so it makes me nervous that they would consume a lot of culinary water to get their green lawns and their big pretty trees. So I just kind of want to look at that. I don't know if it's relevant in this conversation for the annexation, but
Yeah, we need to look at the feasibility, and then we also want to look at how much we want people to water on a hillside.
Well, I would think that you would want lots of water on that hillside because that deepens your roots, gives you that stability. We're not gonna have them out and the house is sloughing off the side because, hey, all of a sudden we broke a water line up above it and all heck breaks loose. So that's my personal opinion on the matter. I don't know if I'm wrong, Patterson.
And I think we would evaluate that and the soil makeup, to see, okay, if there is additional water on there.
But I like the idea. I think it's kind of the benches. I'd like to see larger lots, bigger houses, but that doesn't sometimes come with the feasibility of the way things are. So.
Well, and I think that generally, the Payson View Estates development above the Highline Canal is larger lots and larger homes. But the applicant is also seeing that they're missing a market with some smaller lots and maybe some smaller square footage homes that they could accommodate on the lower section of this annexation area. So then they're in a couple, so then they're in some different markets. It would make a nice development.
Back to the trails parking lot idea, I know that that's not going to be real keen on the homeowners that are there in the area, but like maybe an access point or two out the backside of these complexes. I haven't seen the actual plat map showing that, but I'd hate to do that and put a row of houses up there and then not have any way to actually access this at all. So we get equipment up through there or whatever. I know that's, I don't know if you've thought that direction yet or not, but that's my 2 cents. So thank you.
And just as a side note, Patterson Construction is very familiar with hillside development. They've done hillside development in other communities, so I think just recognizing their experience in other areas and wanting to have access to public land, it's something that they would like to see as well.
I'm on board. So.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
Well, that seems to be my job today. I was just looking for it. Do I have
D1.
what?
D1.
I'll just read it right off the.
Yeah, you can read off that one.
Go for it, Doug.
And as you're deciding who, just as a side note, you're approving or looking at approving the annexation tonight. We will bring the annexation ordinance and the annexation agreement back to you at a subsequent meeting.
Okay.
Okay, I make the motion that we extend the municipal boundaries for the proposed Payson Heights annexation located east of Highline Canal and west of Nebo Loop Road and south of 1600 South.
And we also want to add to look at other ways instead of going with the, what do you call that? Where it goes.
Conservation easement.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
conservation.
Do we need to add that right now?
You could do with staff conditions.
With staff
With
conditions.
staff conditions.
Okay.
And maybe clarifying the additional, more than just a conservation easement.
Oh.
So looking at things besides conservation.
Okay, so for the land that's not being developed, we just ask staff to look at the various options for preservation.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been, motion's been seconded. Roll call vote, starting with Councilwoman Hyatt.
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Mel.
Thank you.
Carl.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm sorry I rode on your property.
When you get the bill.
I'll share it with my buddies.
Thank you, Ross, for being here.
That's right.
Okay. We'll go on to number 2, public hearing resolution, review, adopt the tentative budget for fiscal year 2019-2020.
Wow, that's pretty tricky. My pen just blew up.
Oh. This has Sarah's name on it. Is she here? Or is she...
She's here. We're setting up the computer.
Too tight during this.
Good grief. Even have glasses on, I can't see it.
There needs to be more room back here.
I know. Someday.
Move the podium to the middle.
Okay, come on down, pass it around, give me the extra. There you go.
Bye.
Hi. Okay.
So when she's passing these out, we have worked on this for the last couple of days, and I talked to some of you about some of the changes, but we've made quite a few changes, and we'll try to explain that. And tonight, there is a public hearing, but we are asking to adopt the tentative budget. That's not the final budget, but once the tentative budget is established, then I'm just talking procedurally. Once you're comfortable with the tentative budget, we would like to maybe set up, and I will ask you guys, we have a 5th Wednesday this month. We could have an open house to allow the public to come and comment on the budget. We can put it out on our website and social media of what the proposed changes are. And then also we have a public hearing we need to schedule in June. So you could have 2 opportunities for the public to come weigh in. That gives the more public the ability to participate in the budget discussions. So that's kind of what we were looking at doing. Depends on if you guys would be here on the 5th Wednesday. And if you want to, I know a few years ago we did those open houses down the banquet hall. We could set something like that up again and have people come if they want to talk about the budget or anything else with the different departments. So just a FYI on procedure.
Yeah, I'm actually on board with that. I like the 5th Wednesday meetings, even though they weren't well attended because
PowerPoint's taken a long time here, but yeah,
we're available, and anyway, so this is good. And all the appropriate people will be there. So when they say, "What about this?" we say, "Well, there's Brad. We'll talk to Brad."
So we can talk about that once we go through the changes. But we have
it's usually like Ken, Bill, and Travis.
And I'm just prefacing some of this, and I'll let Sarah take over. I've talked a lot tonight, but you probably all have heard that Blair Andresen announced his retirement coming up in the middle of the month. That did spark another discussion about, and Mark Hyland's retiring December, and so we had some more discussion. I thought it was going to be next budget year, but we had discussion on how to maybe reorganize those departments. So we've got some suggestions, and we're proposing some changes. So we'll go through, and you've got people here that you can ask questions to as well. It's stuck, huh?
Yeah. My files are always super big and they take forever to open. We're about to take minutes. Oh dear. Technology is great when it works, right? Okay. Well, while we're waiting for everything to pull up, I don't know why every time I get up here I have just a terrible time having technology cooperate with me. But I passed you out a budget. It still needs to be like all the wording in there, my little narratives that I add in there. I need to. This is very, yeah, it's loud. Does that work? Anyways, I still have to update the narratives, but the numbers are good. So as we've gone through the budget with Dave, like Dave said, we've added a few different items into the budget, and I wish it would pull up. But we have been, when at the beginning of the year, Melanie came in and was talking to me about what kind of wage adjustments could our budget handle, and I put in a line just to see where it is. I have a big Excel spreadsheet, and I forgot to take that line item out before I sent you the budget last week. So we had an error in our favor, which is good. So it made our budget look better than what it was. Yes.
So when we spend it on the insurance rebate, you weren't here for that part, were you?
I was here. I was listening.
She was hiding.
Yep. Anyways, so I've been talking with Dave. They've talked to me about a few different positions. So I'm going to go over the employees. I wish it would, I have here a lovely PowerPoint. So some of the new employees that we added in the budget, we had 3 officers for the hospital. Do you remember us talking about that? The hospital wants to have them down there. They're willing to participate.
Do you have that on here somewhere?
I have not put that in the narrative, but you'll see it in the budget. If you go into the police, well, this is, hey.
Got it.
Okay. All right. So some of our budget, our highlights are our employees. We have 3 officers for the hospital and 1 school resource officer. So the school resource officer, Nebo School District, goes in half with us on that. So they'll contribute about $46,000, I believe is what it is, and we come up with the rest, which is about $46,000. And I believe this school resource officer will be at Mount Nebo Junior High, I believe. I could be wrong.
So do we have another one at the other side?
No, it'll be at Payson Junior High, but currently splitting with Mount Nebo until that becomes a middle school.
Which is 1 year from now, so.
Yep.
So for a year it'll split, but.
Yep. And then the hospital, they're going to give us about $258,000 a year to help fund the 3 police officers. Dave can go in a little bit more on that contract. I think it's still waiting to be finalized.
Yeah.
Brad can chime in on that as well. It's an 18-month contract. So I think there might be a little bit of hesitation with that because you hate to hire 3 new officers and say this is only 18-month guarantee. But I don't know.
I think once the hospital sees the benefits of that, it'll stay. You know, nothing's absolute till it happens, but I think the hospital will see the benefit.
I would think there was a high enough turnover that you wouldn't have to worry about it. You're gonna, in 18 months, there'll be 3 police officers that'll go away anyway, won't they?
Usually.
It seems like they're always rolling over and makes me
Switching
nervous.
jobs, yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the pay rate.
Yeah. Anyway, so I don't know, do you want to comment anything on that?
They're also, in the contract, is they're putting up the upfront costs of getting us started too, so that'll be a huge commitment on their part also.
Okay, any questions on those so far? Okay, then we had a small engine mechanic. Well, this is part of Mark's retirement package. Do you want to speak on this or do you want me to do it? I need to speak, okay.
You want me to do it?
No, I can do it, I just, if I say to speak, let me know. So Mark is going to retire. He has really been pushing to separate the parks and the golf because it's just becoming so demanding to try to manage both of those. And Mark is a gem. He puts in more than, I don't know, 70, 80 hours each week. He is just running. So he really wanted to split it, but since Blair is retiring, they thought that might be a good time to make Blair's position a park superintendent, and then Greg Madsen, he is currently at the golf course, make his position a golf superintendent, and then hire the full-time small engine mechanic, because that's where a lot of their time is spent. They feel like if they can have someone dedicated to the small machines that they use, which there's a ton. Carl has quite a few that he uses, the grounds, cemetery. They feel like that's a beneficial position to have.
Really makes it a lot cleaner,
Yeah.
I think, supervisor-wise.
Yep. So they want to.
I have one little hiccup here. It seems like I don't know, I'm the talkative one today. I've kept it all bottled up for a month. Here it comes. No, April I was quiet. I want that to go in record. I was quiet the whole month of April.
Yeah, she's got it.
She's got it. As you're talking about splitting those duties between a park foreman, superintendent, and a golf greens position superintendent, I know that there's some large tracts of land up there. We were just talking about the Patterson piece. Also, Forbay is up there. With them being a little bit less of an impact, could we include those as part of the golf system there? I know that there's been some talk of maybe doing some cross-country ski trails so that in the winter months the golf superintendent has a little bit more on his plate and take those off the parks and kind of form that section as one and incorporate those into that one area and then take the parks the other direction. Did that make sense to anybody?
Yeah.
So that the parks.
So you're wanting to make things official, because right now,
Well,
I
I'm
mean,
just-
they're spending any time in Forbay. I would
No,
guess they
that's-
spend about this much time.
Right, and that's where, and I know that Greg is passionate about Forbay, and so if we give him a little bit of reins, he's going to run that direction. And I don't want to overstep bounds or whatever. I mean, he's not officially been given the job or whatever. But.
Yeah, we're not talking about people, but what
Right.
we are. So, and I might have Jill chime in, because she pulled me aside this morning and said, maybe it won't work in the budget this year, but maybe next year we look at having somebody dedicated to parks and trails, because we're not spending a lot of time there, and
Salem came over yesterday. They planned a 10-foot easement along the Utah Lake system, the CUP project. And so they'll have a trail all along that, right to the Payson border. Spanish Fork's already got one to there, so it would go from Spanish Fork Canyon all the way to the Payson border.
They're not putting us behind the 8 ball, is it?
Well, they went to MAG and said they want some regional funding, and I guess MAG said, you can't have regional funding with just 2 cities, so you need to include Payson. So they came in, and we are a little behind the 8 ball, but Jill tries to work on trails as much as she can, but she's got a job. Mark comes to all the meetings, but he's got jobs too, so we thought, you know, instead of having Tracy Zobel and then Mark and then the departments, we'd have Tracy Zobel and then have cemetery, parks, and golf. And have, you know, raise their salary a little bit to the supervisory level, but being able, and then whoever, we want to post for Blair's position and hopefully get a certified arborist, somebody that has experience in parks, and then they can kind of run with the trail part and try to get things going, and golf, yeah, they can focus more on that, and then they report directly to Tracy. So we're just looking at it like I said, I was planning on looking at this next year, but with Mark retiring and now with Blair, we didn't plan on Blair retiring so soon. We just thought let's look at it.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. That's why I said it makes it a lot cleaner as far as supervisory responsibilities.
What's the pay difference?
It's about
We
$10,000.
didn't see a lot, but
Yeah.
we added some. Melanie did some.
Which is nice because the benefits package stays fairly close to the same.
Melanie kind of looked at some, you know, her data and stuff, and we projected, you know, a salary and stuff for that position. So that was an additional person that we had to talk to you guys about, and, you know, revamping a little
But
bit.
it's not an additional position, it's restructuring.
It's
So
restructuring.
You still have the same number of positions, just restructured.
And then when Mark does retire, then there'll be benefit there as well, just financially as well.
Right. Oh,
What does the golf greens position do all year long? The golf greens position do all year long? Is that just a temporary position, or do they have stuff they do all winter long?
They work on the machine.
Yeah,
They do the machine shops?
They work all winter, but we do allow them to take some time off because during the summer, under the federal laws, you can do this. They can work more during the summer without having to accrue overtime and stuff, or they accrue comp time. But then in the winter, when it's not as busy, they take some time off because they put a lot more during the golf season. And so.
So yeah, the golf course is open 7 days a week, and then it's, anytime there's not snow, it's open. So if it's a late October, November, it's open. Thanksgiving Day, so, you know, winter is 3 months.
Yeah.
So.
It balances out that way.
For sure.
So the number of employees would stay the same, but like.
That's why I was trying to give him the trails in Forbay, to give him a little something to do in the winter.
Well, there's a lot of stuff we need to do on trails and parks, and it's gonna just get busier. I mean, everybody's busier, we've talked about that. So there's some restructuring there. We also lost an employee last year because we wouldn't make it full-time at the recreation department. I don't know if you guys know Savannah. She would help a lot, but she went to Saratoga Springs full-time. But we looked at that about bumping that up and making that a position to help with Jeremy and Carl in that position. So we added that in. We've had discussion on the recorder. Right now, Sarah's the recorder and the finance director. Kim Holland-Drake is the full-time person at Development Services, but she's doing the deputy recorder stuff. And so we looked at making that position and splitting those out. It would help several of us.
And I think that would be something very apropos because we don't want to be in the rears in the recording arena and getting some problems there.
I had somebody bring that up about, well, why does everybody keep hiring employees? And I was like, well, one we're looking at right now is this recorder, and it all has to do with those grammar requests and overloading. And he goes, well, I guess if you've got to do it for that reason. So I think that one's kind of, it really needs to be done to stay in compliance with
And if you
federal
want to know
law.
some of the duties that we're just not, I mean, I let Kim, I sat down with her yesterday and looked at some of the duties that just aren't getting done, but, so, and you know, we'd have to put these out for open, but I think Kim would prefer to be the recorder. But she is here, and she would stay here, so the person that replaced her at Development Services would be trained by her, and that would keep going. So, and the last one there, solid waste, I think you approved that last time. That's the operator out there at the landfill that we already talked about with that waste reduction.
It's part of the shredder, right?
What's that?
The shredder, yeah.
Yeah, the shredder, right?
The cities grow too. You can't have growth and stay in a two-horse town. Like, it's impossible to be in a growing stage. And Payson is in a growing stage, and you can't do it without the employees.
Any other?
It's a handful of new employees, though. That'd be an additional 7, 8 full-time employees. How many is it?
So 4, 5, we're making that one a half. You're not.
Well, I'm worried that you're going to leave.
How many full-time positions are we paying as new people?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so the 3 police officers are being funded 97, or what is it? 0.3%, or 0.3 is all we're paying for out of that.
So it's a,
And then
Or they're paying 10
school
cents on the
resource
dollar
is
for
paying
them,
for
that's-
half, yes. So you have the full-time recorder, that's a new position, the solid waste equipment operator is a new position, and the small engine mechanic is a new position. And then
So
the
it's
ball
only-
field,
only 4.
it's 3.5, because, well, 4.5.
Right. But I'm also a little bit concerned that we're restructuring those park foremans and stuff. We're going to need a couple of more employees in a year down the road to cover that additional. Like, I mean, you're giving them more responsibility, but they still don't have the manpower to do what they need to do.
I
and
asked
that makes me nervous.
Tracy, and Melanie talked to Mark. Melanie still there? Yeah. I asked Tracy, I said, are you gonna need more employees, or are you gonna be able to do it? He said, no, I think this will solve the problem. Mark was on board, so,
They were the ones that kind of brought it to
yeah.
us.
So if they're feeling okay with it, we can ride with it, give it a couple of years, and then
The supervisor's got to be a working
Yeah.
employee. It's not somebody that just deals with budget stuff. They got to be out there working.
they're going to have to pick up the shovel and hold it upright.
And they do. Greg's a hard worker out there. Greg's a very capable one.
He is.
Well, my hope is that we can get an arborist, somebody like that, that can really help with a lot of the departments. You know, we pay 7 Trees that has their arborist in the electrical department, in the streets department. If we had our own arborist, maybe we could do some of that work ourselves without having to.
I'm game behind that. I've mentioned that in the past, so.
how much do we normally pay for an arborist every year?
It was like 28,000 last time I ran the
So
numbers.
theoretically, 28,000
Yeah.
would go
I'd have to, don't quote me on that, I shouldn't have spoke, but yeah.
theoretically.
We spent
pretty high.
11,000, remember, downtown?
Right.
On that tree trimming, and that was with their arborists and their.
So that was
trimming it
my
right.
time in how many years?
Yeah. It looked good.
I think that was
At
the
least
problem.
10 years.
Right, look at what I'm saying, so the average that out is $1,000 a year since we get a lot.
But I think the electric department uses them a lot when they have to deal with power lines and trees, so.
So does Kim.
So does Kent,
Yeah, the
yeah.
streets and the electricians use it the most.
So I did just a query on 7 Trees, and it was 20-something thousand last year. Any other comments? Okay. All right, so I did use $53,000 on fund balance. And the reason I did it is we did $20,000 for a website, which we desperately need, I think. I think that would be a big bang for the buck. And $15,000 for the trail near Barnett School. That's been highly talked about. And then there's some coil replacements that need.
Fingers pointed at me.
Was that you?
That was my.
Yeah, he lives right next to it.
That was during April, but he didn't say anything.
He gets more done when he's on.
So if you add those up, that was 53,000. But with me finding my little oops, we have a little bit extra. So we added in the $80,000 phone system, which we need a phone system terribly. We keep getting comments of, I can't get through.
I was on
Yes,
hold
we
for
do.
how long yesterday?
That's right.
Trying to find a phone that even worked.
Yeah.
I called it, they're like, this is
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
unprofessional. They ran around looking for it. So you got my support on that one.
Steve gave me a budget of about 50,000, but that's been 4 or 5 years ago. I just keep cutting it out but since we had a little bit, we thought we'd put it in. And it may not be 80, but we thought, 4 or 5 years ago, we ought to
we have a budget, at least make sure we have enough. But we'll get some bids, and like I say, this is tentative, we can get bids and come back with more deliberate numbers if the
And there's-
council's comfortable with it.
There's many other capital improvements we could put in here. We have parking lots that we haven't addressed, this one out here, the library parking lot, the golf course parking lot. We have ball field fences that haven't been addressed. We have trails. Mark has his park CIP budget has trail after trail after trail. So trail's a big one. I mean, there's so many items that we haven't even addressed, but we just try to pick maybe ones that are probably very important to get done in this year. Okay, so the sales tax revenue, it continues, seems to be 6% is what it's up. That's what we're trending at this year, so I bumped it up 6%, which equates to about $200,000, and our property tax revenue is up higher than what we budgeted, about 4%. So I bumped that up. When we get our projected tax rate from the county, we can see what the tax levy has been reduced to, and then we can see what difference that is in keeping the levy the same. Typically, it's been about $60,000 to $70,000 every year when we just keep it the same, which is good because then it can help us address all of these capital improvements that we just keep putting off because we don't have budget for it. Okay, we also increased the development and inspection fees. We have included a $25,000 expense for a lobbyist, $15,000 for the golf tournament you guys tried putting on, and then the $10,000 for public information officer. Somebody, hopefully part-time, I've been talking with Sydney Jakes about maybe a high school student. There was someone that she contacted, he can make videos. So I don't know, we're trying to figure out what kind of intern we get. So maybe it's not someone you're paying.
We attended the UAM's meeting where that was shown to us quite vividly that we're missing the boat if we don't have one.
Yeah, so it would be nice to get someone full-time, but I don't think we're there yet. But it would be nice to have a public information officer that we could have her or him on the forefront of helping to get the word out of what Payson is doing good. And
Well, the one that we had at UAM's, that's not all she did either, so I think the part-time would be great.
Okay.
Finding a way to maybe combine a couple of positions. I mean, that's really tough to get somebody that can, hey, I can do all of
There are
this.
lobbyists to do our public information.
Yeah. Or the new development services person.
They're going to be so busy.
That seems to be a legacy that we have too many people doing too many things.
Right. I would vote no for that. Just for me. But no, and maybe we need to find somebody in the Parks Department. You know, that's just kind of, if you've got something that's a part-time position, maybe combining two, but it does change their benefit packages, which makes it tough, but stuff like that, that's the way I like to. Because I worry about a high school student getting out there and maybe getting swayed by their friends and they do something that they probably shouldn't, and they're representing us and it slips through the cracks and all of a sudden we're liable for what they've posted on the internet.
Like a yearbook?
Everything would have to come through us before it could be posted.
We have to go through that.
Right, but I've seen stuff that slips through, you're like, oh, I know.
And it wouldn't necessarily have to be a high school student either. There's people out there.
I'm just saying, that's kind of where my.
Yeah, one thing that I thought about, we have UVU, BYU, and University of Utah. We have these schools that have
These programs.
public relations degrees, and they need internships. Maybe get somebody like that that could do it for credit, and maybe some pay, but
Right.
help them in their degree.
I'm a little bit more on board with that.
Yeah, a partnership with the college would be better. Kim might be asking this question, but if we had a part-time recorder between two positions, and we're making a full-time recorder, would they be able to do public information stuff, or are you already maxed beyond?
I think you're
It's
right.
like right now, we don't have a full-time recorder.
And we're
So,
not doing all of our duties.
well, sure. Well, that's what I'm asking. I don't know exactly
I
what
think
your
the whole
day-to-day
reason that
involvement
we're
is.
doing that is because it's something that needs to.
Well, I know that it needs to be done, but that doesn't always mean that I mean, you're going here and this is capacity and you know, it's way too much for what we're at, but if it only gets us to here,
So
that's what I'm
No,
asking.
that's a valid
you're currently
question.
putting 80 hours into it, you're gonna change it to 120, if there's only 100 hours worth of work, or 110 hours, that's gonna leave a little bit.
Right, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah, we
I
could.
think
And I'll leave that up to you, but it seems like where there was nothing there, I
I would
It might not,
much-
it might be completely outside of that person's wheelhouse to even be able to do that, so. But
And I'd like to see us come into compliance with those requests that we've been slacking on just a little bit. So,
What requests are those?
I don't know what you're talking about. No, just like, you're saying that you're not getting everything done.
Well,
You're not meeting all your duties, and so I'd like to make sure we're getting those
So the grammar request by
done.
law, we have to meet those, so what
Right.
I do.
So those come first
respond
and then
to
other
those.
stuff gets pushed
Absolutely.
back.
What we're really lacking on is our records retention. We don't have our documents organized, they're in boxes. When we were going through our SESD grammar request, it was a nightmare to try to find, can't find stuff down in the basement constantly. Like, they're not organized very well. I hate to say that.
No, and that was the duties I was referring
Yeah,
to.
okay, yes. Oh, I thought you were
Yeah.
talking about grammar.
No,
You can respond to those.
No, I knew that was,
Yeah.
but that's what's eating up the time
Yeah.
for the other stuff. so.
Yeah.
Okay, just stop.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, so here's just overall budget view. You can see, so this is the surplus or deficit. So we're about $40,000 negative in the general fund, but we added in the $80,000 phone system. So, you know, if we take that out, we could balance the budget, but I feel like we need to probably keep our tax levy the same, if not increase it more, so we can address these issues that we keep having as a growing city. We want to get ahead of the game instead of always trying to play catch up, is how I feel. And there's so many needs in the city that if you want us to present all those needs, and then you can decide, can we do more than just keeping the tax levy the same, or do you just want to keep it the same? Anyways, but
I think we need to keep the city healthy financially, and that's the way I think you do it, is keep ahead of the game.
and kudos to you guys. So the mayor and I, we're going to San Francisco next week to have one of our bonds rated by some rating agencies. One thing they look at is, do you do a CPI increase on your rates every year? Do you do a truth in taxation every year? And we can answer yes to each of those questions. And they look at that, and that helps us to get better bond ratings, which helps us to get lower interest rates. And so you guys have been proactive, and it's been very, very helpful for our financial health, for sure. Okay, what did you say, Linda?
I just said it doesn't take a very big raise
No.
to be helpful.
Yeah,
for the
not at all. Just keeping the tax levy the same
Right.
has been immense help, because we hadn't done a tax increase. When I got here, I called the county and they said, we don't show any record that you guys have ever done a tax increase. So, yeah,
Orm had done it for 47 years, and we're probably longer than that.
yeah, yep. Okay, so here's our expenditures. I wanted to show you, how much is spent in each department. The general fund is a big fund, it's our biggest fund, and then electric is next. But compared to last year, you can see that we have increased the general fund quite a bit, but that's with the new employees, the new officers, so that does add up. But we're also getting some revenues in to help cover those as well. Tell me when you're ready. Are we good?
Let's speak out.
Teresa, are you good? If I go, okay, sorry. All right, and then this just kind of tells you where the money's spent, how it's allocated. 28% is in operating, 27% is personnel, 28% is capital expenditures, and this is all combined together. This isn't just the general fund, this is all of the departments together. And then here it shows you your breakdown of where our tax revenues, or our revenues are coming from for the general fund. You can see tax revenues are the biggest revenues for the city, which of the tax revenues, the sales tax is the largest. And it's in your budget document, I do have that in there, but sales tax is about 57% of our tax revenue. Okay, so that's breakdowns of revenue. We already went over the employees. We were going to do this, but I'll change it to 8,500, what you adopted. And then the health insurance, Melanie worked really hard with our broker to try to keep benefits the same, not change them every year. It's a battle to try to keep that premium increase as minimal as possible, and every organization deals with that. We're not unique to that. So she worked with them and it came in about 10% increase for the plans, and we kept the city participation at 90% for the traditional and the HSA at 95%. And here's just, so you can see the monthly cost. So last year it cost $582.14 for the city, the premiums. This year it's $618, so it increased $36. And then down below, the employee portion, you can see that the family, if someone's on a family plan, they're gonna have to pay $10 more. So,
And that's per check, right?
no, that's a month. So cut that in half, and that would be 24 pay periods.
On the health insurance fund, are they doing like the wellness type things where they get discounts on their rates? Are we, is that part of our?
We used to do that.
Discounts on them, but we're participating in wellness.
We do wellness.
Because they give us a
but-
better rate? I just know, I ask in Eagle School District because we get a better rate if we record walking so many days and we do these activities and we get a physical, and that cuts the rate down for the employees. And they pass the savings on to the employees if they do it. If they don't, then they have to pay the increased cost. But by doing those things, theoretically, you're
Yeah, helping to keep us healthy.
right, you
So
stay healthy and your costs stay down, which means your premiums stay down.
I don't know if we're getting credit for that or not.
Yeah, I don't think we have that on.
I don't think our pool is.
Can we do that?
I'll have to verify, but I don't think our employee count, our pool is big enough.
We're not big
No.
enough? Okay.
We can check though.
Good thought.
Yeah,
We do.
you do?
Yeah. We do have.
That's the way city governments describe sometimes.
Yeah. We have, we have the Health in Utah where you go have your assessment every year, and then they give you an incentive if you get your cholesterol down this much, they give you $50.
Okay.
So we do have that. That's a statewide program with anybody that's on PEHP. So.
Okay, and here's the HSA differences. You can see it's similar in increase in costs and then how much is coming out of pocket from the employee. Okay, so real quick, the projects that were included, we have the phone system, the trail, park improvements, coil. Steve does a great job of trying to keep everything running. It's just getting harder and harder with all the old equipment in here, but things you just never know. Like our boiler, we had to replace that a couple of years ago, which was a big expense, but I think it's been beneficial to have that done. We have to add an additional $200,000. We already have $1.8 million that we've appropriated for the ball fields, but to make it $2 million, which I think is what we're estimating right now until we get the finalized numbers, but we're going to appropriate another $200,000 for the ball fields.
Woodbury should have some hard costs for the next couple of weeks. They've been getting the design work done.
When do you expect that to start?
Yeah, when's it gonna start?
Well, we don't want them to start on the cafe room until we get
Right.
some numbers, so that's what they're working on now, so.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about ball field
That's
too.
what I'm saying, so
It'd be nice to have it filled in there
they're
instead of
supposed
a
to get us some hard
weed patch
costs on
for
the numbers
numbers.
in a couple of weeks. I talked to him yesterday.
And then they'll tell you when they're going to
Well,
start.
yeah, then we gotta coordinate so they can start about the same time. We want them both to start at the same time.
Okay, so here's the water projects. The $6 million, that's the bond that we just went and got from the state at 1%. We're hoping that it comes in lower than $6 million, but we'll see. I know Travis and Brent are gonna work on putting that out to bid during the winter time. They met with Saratoga Springs to figure out how to approach that. I think they're gonna try to do different zones, maybe ones with easier meters and harder meters, so then we're not paying $1,100 for a meter that maybe costs $50 to put in because it's easy type of things. All right, they're gonna try to keep replacing batteries. That's an ongoing problem. It helps so they can read and track the usage. Right now we have quite a few old ERTs that aren't working. An ERT is a part of the meter. Yeah.
It's the electronic part of the meter that we can read.
Yeah. And then all these projects are in there. Do you have any questions on those? I hate to reiterate what's up there. Okay. The wastewater, Jeff's jet truck is constantly in the shop. I believe it's over 10 years old. He needs a jet truck terribly. He uses it all the time when he's trying to clean out lines. Travis can help me out here. The debt truck is just very helpful for him when he's working on sewer lines.
I've talked to him about that, and it's very needed.
He needs it desperately.
So are we gonna surplus the one we have, or is this in addition to?
We would surplus it. They won't even support it. Like the pump went out on it and they said we won't, like we can't even guarantee we'll find another one if your other one breaks, you know, if it goes out again. So they're not gonna support it anymore, so it's time to get rid of it.
Not good news. I don't like when Jeff comes to talk to me. He never has good news. Then you can see the west outfall. That's the line that collapsed. That is the big chunk of change. It's not 3.3. I need to update that slide. It's, Travis, is it 2.2 million? We're going to go 2.6 just in case there's any unforeseen problems that come up. But I think the bid was 2.2, and we're going to give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room. So we're going to try to bond for 2.6 million to fix that. And then you can see the rest of the projects. Solid waste, we're going to use fund balance and pay off the compactor, just to try to get debt off of our backs. And then the annual payment for the shredder and the track hoe is $186,000, and that was for 6 years. Storm, he's continuing to just work at little projects, and he's trying to save up for that 800 West trunk line storm retention. Electric, new distribution circuit on 8th South, the VNC projects. It's amazing how quickly the money goes, and you don't get a lot of projects done because they just cost so much money. But Ken tries to do as much as he can with what he's got. The CDBG project, we had $137,000 budgeted this year. We're going to need an additional $180,000 to complete it. Our revolving loan fund, that's the fund we use to buy vehicles within departments in the city. We lend ourselves the money to buy these vehicles. So we've got quite a few on here that are desperately needed, and they're on a 5-year payment plan, and they pay it back at 3.25% interest rate. So our monthly rate increases that, based on CPI, it's about $1.85 per month is what I'm proposing to keep utility rates equal to CPI. Any questions on those? Right here. So in addition to the CPI, in order to bond, we need to make sure that we have the revenue stream to cover the bond. And as I projected, we'll probably need $1 to show that we have the coverage to be able to bond. So I'm proposing a $1 rate increase so we can bond.
For sewer.
So, yep, our monthly rate really will go up $2.85 per month overall. Questions?
That's all in sewer?
No, that's overall. So sewer
Oh,
would be
overall would increase.
$1.68. Yeah, so 42 cents for PI, 40 cents for culinary, 12 cents for storm, $1.68 for wastewater, 23 cents for garbage. And here's, so once again, I get my studies from Provo, so I don't want anybody to think, oh gosh, you can make the numbers however you want. I like to use someone independent of me. So if we do our rate increase for water, you can see we'll move just slightly above where we're at. We're already slightly above average. So we'll go up just a little bit, but we're not going to jump anybody. Our wastewater cost, we're already above average, but in the future I can see the average moving because Provo's going to have some huge increases.
We're a little below average right now.
Salem, oh yeah, sorry, we're a little bit below, but with the proposed rate increases we'll be above. With our dollar increase, you can see it bumps us up a few spots.
Did Salem increase theirs last year?
They did.
Theirs was pretty recent, right?
Yeah, they did.
And they went up quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Provo does this every year, and they are very thorough on contacting and seeing who increased rates. So I feel very comfortable with their study. Storm cost, we're still below average. We'll stay in the same spot if we go up our 12 cents. Our garbage can cost, we're below average, but if we do this, we'll bump up just a little bit. We'll be 14 cents above average. Any questions? So that's our budget. Try to make it as simple and give you an overview as best I can. Oh, yes. Yep.
One thing that's not on there, we get every year based on the CPI of garbage, electric, so those that are on our, and it's not in here, but those that are on our recycling, they just sent notice last week, Republic, saying your cost is gonna go up like 70 cents. Last year when they brought up the CPI, we had a little buffer because we do the billing and we just let it go, but this year it's a bigger increase. I think we probably need to put, you know, on our fee schedule, we need to increase the recycling to cover that.
What's the percentage that use the recycling?
This
We're
last
under
time we
50% now.
we went under 50%.
Did we?
So, I mean, it's still, it's close to 50%, but it's below. So right now, under our agreement, we're at the highest rate that they can charge, but they do have the ability to, based on the CPI each year, to increase that. We told them we wouldn't help pay for the increased cost of the get rid of the garbage, and you've seen a lot of those articles, China's not taking it. So the cost of recycling has gone up quite a bit. And we're tied in with our agreement, but that CPI, and I can forward you the email if you want, it's the CPI index for garbage and waste, and it did go up quite a bit.
How long is our agreement with them?
It's 5 years, and I think we're into it 2, so we're on our 3rd year, I think. And I don't know, it's gonna depend when that comes. I told the guy we probably as a council wouldn't renew because we're having people drop off, but we do have some in the city that are very adamant about recycling, and, you know, if they're willing to pay the cost, you know, we can continue it on it, you know, if they wanna do it, but it has been a difficult thing, and it's hard for the front office to get a lot of calls, and people are mad.
Yeah, they get complaints all the time that their cans aren't getting picked up, that they keep getting missed, and that's not us, which is really hard because they think it's us,
We
so
try to
it's really bad.
forward them all to Republic, but yeah, it's been.
Some of them are getting missed, but some of them are like, oh, I forgot it was recycling day.
Yeah. My can was missed again.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
I think it might be good to engage in some talks with the Republic that if they would like to keep this going 3 years from now, that they need to probably invest in their marketing and give us some marketing information so we can show it as a benefit to the city and to the environment. I mean, it seems like that's something that's what they should be doing.
They should be doing.
And so if we can get that, I still think it's good, even though it's expensive right now. I think if it saves on our land, I mean, we're investing how much money on
Out in the landfill.
out in the landfill to save space so that it lasts longer. Well, we can also do that really easily by putting recycling material somewhere else.
Do we have any numbers, how many tons they actually take out of our city?
I mean, that would be some interesting information if Republic says, hey, this is how much trash we've taken from you, and we could look at that and say, you know, this is the positive impact it's on the landfill, then I think that it's a beneficial endeavor, but if we can't get that information, then we can't share that with her.
Yeah, I think we can get that information, and, you know, if you guys are not intended budgets like we talked about, we can put that information out on the website or social media and set a, if you guys want to do it Wednesday and have more discussions on, you know, the proposed increase of the CPI on all our utilities, and Republic Services increase, and anything else they want to talk about.
So, on some of our big projects that we have on our 5-year and like 10-year plans, are we just waiting till those come, or are we pocketing some money somewhere so we can hit them when they come? So for example, like a Main Street redo. Are we just saying we're going to do it at some point in time, but we're not saving any money for it? Because that's my concern, is we have these and we keep having these big projects and we haven't put any money aside for them, so it's going to be the next year and then the next year and then the next year and the next year.
Hopefully, one of the reasons we got that lobbyist is to get us maybe $5 million, and we talked to Sean Sager at Mountain Lions just a couple days ago about that, so we're still working on that.
Sure, and I understand that portion, but we have other projects as well. I mean, there's wastewater or storm drain and all sorts of things. you know, we have pet projects too, like roads up to Forbay and things like that. Are we just saying, hopefully at some point in time, we're gonna get there?
Yeah, we're not saving anything right now for that.
Particularly big projects, like pet projects are,
I think the only one that we're saving
is the sewer.
The sewer, we'll put 300,000 a year for the upgrade.
And the storm, the 8
And
south trunk
and
line.
the storm, we usually save that money so we can do a project.
Yeah.
And
We really don't have money in the general fund to save. I
Well-
mean, we could not do the $80,000 or
Right, so, but
not
we're-
hire employees and.
Right, we're in the
save
budget
that
session,
way.
and there's some talk about truth and taxation and things like that, and I want, and keeping the city healthy.
Right.
Part of this, keeping the city healthy, makes sure that the infrastructure is healthy.
Right.
And so, are there things that we need to be identifying now that we say, either we bond for, or we say, you know what, we're gonna increase the mill levy rate to make sure that we've got some money set aside, so when we hit the 5-year mark, and we get a little bit of money from the state, we can replace Main Street. Or when we hit this mark, we can have the library parking lot, or, I mean, we got so many things that are old and breaking down.
I agree.
I think that's a great idea. It's just-
You know, because I don't want to raise taxes for nothing, but if the taxes can be raised to improve the quality of life, and so we're not always in crisis mode, because that's what we're either. We're jumping from crisis to crisis to crisis to crisis to crisis. I don't want to pay any more. Like, I really don't. Like, I would prefer that I paid, my tax bill was cut in half. But if we can identify some things through this process that we can start saving for, so a future council can benefit the city by saying, hey, we just fixed your,
And that's one good thing. So we have been saving. That's why we can put $2 million down on the ball field.
right?
So we have been trying to save, but like you say, they just come up. So.
Right. Well, I'm
Yeah,
just,
but
like,
no,
there's some of those
we need
big projects that
yes.
we have on our 5-year and 10-year boards that we can say,
Yep.
you know what, this one has been pushed back for 5 years now. It was on our 5-year plan, and now it's still on our 5-year plan 5 years later.
Yep.
Is it a priority enough that we need to bring that up and say, let's save a little bit more?
Let's increase taxes and we'll earmark that money for.
Right, but it
Main
has to
Street.
be
Earmarked.
earmarked.
Yep, absolutely.
Right.
And if you, as a council, feel like Main Street is your priority and you want to increase taxes,
Well, that's just one on the top of my head. I need to go back and look at, Travis can probably tell me everything that's
Yeah, we can go back and look at.
falling apart.
I'll send you the CIP
Just in the meantime, like,
budget.
that would be interesting to see where we're at on our CIP and if we need to,
Yeah. And the nice thing about our enterprise funds, they have their own revenue streams.
Right.
So when you're talking about general taxes, your property taxes, that's the general fund. So we're talking about Main Street, we're talking about parking lots. Those are
Yeah,
general
those
fund
probably aren't-
expenses. Yeah.
the biggest one in the huge scheme of Annie, Don's gonna tell me the parking lot's the most important one.
Yes.
I mean, but that is part of our image, and
The parking lot, Kent's estimating it's gonna be $300,000 just for the library parking lot.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Take care of the infrastructure underneath it too.
yeah.
We're doing the design on it right now, but funding is the issue.
So
well,
I'm more than
anything
happy.
that like
I'll put the
betters
tax.
our position, so, you know, instead of like raising it to put in a splash pad or something like that, let's raise it to fix a long-term infrastructure issue.
Mhm. Yep. And we can totally earmark that money, so it's saved just for that.
Yeah.
We can put together some tax. proposals.
Yeah, like, if we can identify those, like, some critical things that we know will make life better for the, keep going to the United States, for Payson. Taking grade one Payson at a time.
I like it.
Anyway, just thoughts.
No, I think it's a good thought.
Okay.
We discussed that earlier, but I hate to be the one to say, raise property taxes.
Yeah. Well, and I don't want to, but I would be interested to see what the critical issues are and what it would do for us, and then make a decision from there.
Well, the one you do is,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be too hard to throw
I
those.
think we need to literally look at that, and I said that all along, I don't mind raising the taxes as long as it's for something that benefits the whole city.
it's not wanting to, it's having to.
Yeah, that's it,
Right.
it's having to do that.
Band-Aids are expensive over the long run.
I'll send you the CIP budgets.
Okay.
You can
That'd be wonderful.
look at them
We
and.
probably need to discuss that.
And
Over the- on
my-
that fifth
master's program ends this Saturday, so I will have more time
Oh,
to
good.
pour over those CPI budgets.
Well, and the next council meeting, we still have budget discussions, we have discussions on this.
Okay, so do we need to do a
Approve the preliminary
well,
budget.
no, public hearing?
Oh,
So we need to open one, right?
motion to open public hearing.
Okay, there's a motion on the table, is there a second? Okay, it's been seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we do have a public hearing. If there's anyone here that would like to talk about this subject, please step to the mic, state your name and address, speak clearly, and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anybody that would like to come up and comment? Not seeing any. I'll entertain a motion to close this public
Motion to close public forum.
Okay?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been seconded. Again, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, now we need a motion on what we've just discussed on the tentative budget.
Changes on what was presented, we're good, right? What was presented?
I think we're okay.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the 2019-2020 tentative budget for Payson City.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been motion's been made and been seconded. Roll call vote starting with Councilman Christensen.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Now we'll go to public hearing / resolution amendments to the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget. You're still up, Sarah.
Yes, I am. I'll be quick on this one,
Good.
unless you have questions. So I'm just gonna go through, and you just interrupt me if you've got questions, so we can, get things moving along. Okay, so we received a $10,000 donation from Patterson Construction, and we're gonna use that to update the development services area, kind of like we're doing out here. We're gonna get a new flooring, new paint.
Inside our office?
No, just right outside, but it's a
outside,
step.
yeah.
Eventually, we're gonna get inside.
Too much excited for minutes.
I'll come paint your office for you this summer if you
Yeah, we're
want.
gonna get inside soon. We're gonna get inside soon. Yes.
Joe just wants a new mouse.
You want a new mouse? Anyways, so I feel like that was the best place to use it.
Mouse.
Oh, mouse.
Who's got everything?
Yeah, will you pay for a new house?
Okay,
We're up there.
so we've had to use the GIS contractor. He's done more work than what we budgeted, so we need to increase that, but we have plenty of public works inspection fees to help cover it. Same with the independent contractor that we've used to help cover for John. John's a busy man. So this gentleman has helped cover for John, go out and do building inspections. So once again, it's more than what we
We
budgeted.
need 2 of those.
Sorry, what's that?
How long are we out before we need 2 Johns?
Well, what we did
Not
is we
very far,
contracted,
probably.
yeah.
Right.
To address that issue, because it's based on development.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and fees. So if development stops and you hire a new person that's based on that, it's a little bit scary. So they decided to try it out for this year, contract it out with, is it LEI? Travis, who did you or is it Sunrise?
It'll either be Sunrise or John Cowan.
Yeah. Anyway, so they're just gonna contract it out, and then when they get busy, you contract it and you're not hiring a full-time person and taking the risk that development stops. That's what we did in the 2020 budget. Okay, the CTC program received a grant for $750. We're just increasing their budget. Jeff, here comes Jeff's items. So we need $25,000 to clean out a manhole on 800 South and Main Street. We put the jet truck in here. The jet truck costs it takes 9 months to have it built. So Jeff wants to get that rolling. If you guys approve it, he wants to tell them now so he can get it ASAP. So if you approve this here, we'll just take it out of his budget next year and it will just be a carryover for next year's budget. Does that make sense? Okay, then his primary clarifier drive went out, which is $64,000. The part is $32,000. Sorry, my voice is like going. But to install it, it's the same amount. So yeah, $64,000 to have that part and then have it installed. His toys out. Then we received a donation from the Hewish and the Main Street renderings and movies in the park donation. So I put those respectively in the accounts. Payson Community Theater revenue came in higher. What I do is I just look at what revenue we budgeted, what they brought in, and it was $18,000 higher than what we budgeted. This is just an accounting, it's something that I have to do so I don't go over budget. We already paid for these vehicles out of the revolving loan funds, but when I do my audit entries at the end of the year to prepare for the audit, I have to move those vehicles into their respective departments. So I have to increase their budgets and increase the loan proceeds, basically. So it doesn't affect the budget any. I have to do that. So when Ben does my audit tests, I'm not violating the law by being over budget. The branding study, Dave, did you send me this request? They want to use the business park money that we have, funds we have available to pay for a new branding study to maybe help bring some more businesses to that business park. So that's what that is.
A new branding study?
Or more, additional more literature for it, sorry.
Yeah, we'll be spending a lot of time and money on one.
Yeah, just an extension of that.
Same, just to keep going, sorry. Sometimes, yeah.
Switching.
Yes. Okay, the administration department, we had a couple hiccups. And I'm gonna air my dirty laundry just because I don't want anyone to ever think that I'm not honest in anything that we do. So we had, every 2 weeks we pay payroll, and we filed with the IRS, we pay our payroll taxes. Well, I received a notice from the IRS that we did not make our payment in November. So I went and asked our payroll clerk, I said, hey, I got this letter. She goes, no, I paid it, look. And she had the document, but then she noticed down on the page she had printed off, it said confirm. So she never hit confirm, even though she thought she had. And the IRS does not care if you're 2 minutes late, 2 days late, they automatically assess a 10% penalty, which on our payroll is about $7,800. So it was hard to swallow.
Yeah.
And we have now put controls in place to make sure that it does go through. So we double check ourselves so we don't have this mistake, but it was an honest mistake.
People make mistakes from time
She
to
felt
time.
so bad, and then another one, we had a little hiccup with an email that looked like it was totally legitimate from an employee saying, please, yeah, switch my account. Yeah, anyways. I hate to air the dirty laundry, but I just want you to know what's going on, and that happened for a couple pay periods. So
It was some fraud.
Yeah, it was fraud.
From the email. We are turning the claim into our insurance. They may cover that. And then we also reached out to Design Bank to see if they can recover some of that. But and also on the other penalty, I know we've talked with the IRS. We're going to submit a letter to see if they will waive that as well. But this is the worst case scenario to make sure it gets paid. We have to pay it.
There's so many scams out there, it's really hard to keep track of.
well, I get them from you all the time. Hey, sir, can you please initiate this wire?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so, and
For me?
we just got another one from Dave Tuckett. Yeah, it says, Bill Wright, and what happens?
Well, don't do it then.
Yeah, no. Anytime there's money involved, no way. But we just got another one that said, hey, I need to switch my bank account, thanks, Dave Tuckett. And it even had Dave T at Payson.org, like, it looked totally legitimate. It's crazy how good they are. So now everything has to be done in person. If anything's switched, I know that's not user-friendly for a lot of people, but it's safe, protects all of us. All right, I should have put this on a while ago. I totally forgot, but Melanie got a subscription to Applicant Pro. It helps us to post our job openings. It makes it much easier. And our property taxes have come in higher, so we're just going to use property taxes to cover that. BNC, they had their street ordinances updated and their zone safety study at Spring Lake Elementary, so they need to use fund balance to cover that expense. The police department received grants. We're just giving them just increasing their expense. The corresponds with that. They received a JAG grant. The pool, with our new employee, Carl said that he just keeps finding lots of stuff that needs to be fixed, which is good, because we want to be proactive instead of reactive. But there was quite a few pumps and some check valve items that need to be replaced, so that's $10,000 on that. And our interest income is doing awesome. It's the highest it's been for a long time, probably in 10 years. So interest income is way higher than what we budgeted, and we'll use that to help cover that. And then Scott, he's working on a remodel at the ambulance building. He needs $25,000 to replace ceilings and carpet,
They need to be
cabinets.
replaced.
Yeah. So we're going to use that. And we need
Start
to
with
use
the
that.
foundation.
Our impact fees, we have to spend it within 6 years, so we're butting up against that time, so we're using that. And then Donna received a $3,000 grant just recently, just today. So these two bottom ones are brand new. So we're just increasing that based on the grant.
How long, like Doug said, we need to start saving. How long can we continue to use that public safety building before we need to be not the oldest building?
You better be listening, Scott.
You better be listening. We're asking when you want that new building.
Help you.
Yes, hey, I'm listening now.
Listening now. I don't know. I see throwing $25,000 at that building is. How much longer? How long can we milk that one out? When do we need to be looking at the new one?
Well, part of the issue is we have money. If we don't expend, we'll have to give it back to the contractors. And so as we're making that building a little more usable for the crews that are there during the day and then potentially at night. So just trying to finish some of the areas, not all of it, just to make it more livable. Some of the ceilings are coming down. They're
Right.
anymore.
So no, I'm just saying, I understand. I mean, we'll give you this money, but how much? Are we talking 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Can we go another 67?
Last year. No. Yeah, we should have started working on it last year, but just haven't got there yet. But yeah, within a couple of years, because we really need to move or transition from the two buildings in, speaking on the one on First North and the fire station, and bring both fire and medical apparatus into two buildings. So
into one centralized location.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've got a potential buyer of that building anyhow.
Yeah, oh yeah. As soon as we're done with that building on 4th East, there's a buyer that's wanting to buy it.
Yeah.
Do we have the land for that, Scott?
A what?
Do we have land
We
already
have
purchased?
land in Spring Lake for our new building.
Somebody was telling me it had to be a centralized location. I didn't know if that would work.
No, what the plan would be is you'd keep the building you have downtown, have a second one, because it's all about response time and travel distance. So having one station is great, but you really need to start spacing them out for the travel distance. Then that lowers our insurance ratings, because right now we're not meeting the travel distance requirements.
So how long before you have to buy a new fire truck? Is all this growth on Arrowhead and
Last year.
So, because aren't there requirements that if your population reaches a certain number, or there's certain type of buildings that you're required by law to buy a new fire truck, or is that recommendation?
It's about pump capacity and the height and area of your buildings. So with our pump capacity, the one we have that needs to be replaced, was built in 1984. It's not the safest vehicle, and you can only fit 3 people in it, and it's just worn out. And so that would be the one we'd replace. So that's coming up in next year's budget to replace that engine.
Those aren't cheap.
No. So when we first started buying them, you'd buy an engine for a couple $100,000. And when we bought our ladder truck in 2001, we paid just under $300,000. The last engine we bought was $550,000. So you see how much they've gone up. So a ladder truck compared to what we have now would probably be $700,000, $800,000. So a lot of money.
Okay. Sorry to get distracted again.
It's all right.
We need to keep that in mind.
So, that's it? Okay, I'll accept the motion to go in public hearing.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, same instructions. If there's anyone that wants to talk about this budget 2018, 2019, please come to the mic, state your name and address and speak clearly. Okay, not seeing any. I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to go out of close, or
Out of closed session?
Close public hearing.
Oh, yeah, that's right, public hearing. Sorry.
It's gonna go out of it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any more discussion on this budgetary subject? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the changes to the,
We don't need to make a motion on this, do we?
Yeah.
Yes, you do. You
Yeah.
have to approve the budget
Approve the
amendments.
budget amendments.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget amendments to the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget.
Second.
Okay, motion was made, it's been seconded. Roll call vote starting with Councilwoman Hyatt.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, we've already done 4 and 5. We'll go on to number 6, resolution declaration of surplus property.
So this is just another formality, just need to declare these surplus so Larry can put them on the action. Any questions about those items?
I don't think so. I looked through it. All of them are old enough to get rid of, I believe. Any discussion with council? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to, where are we at?
Number 6.
To approve the declaration of surplus property.
Okay, motion was made, has been seconded. Roll call vote starting with Councilman Christensen.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, then we'll go to E. Adjourn to redevelopment agency. I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn to redevelopment.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Ms.
Hey.
Rudd?
So this is the budget that we just adopted, it's the easy one. It's the one where we pay the the sales tax and property taxes, half of it back to, why can I not think of it? Walgreens, thank you. It's been a long life. A long life. Okay, so right here, the RDA downtown, we pay them about $14,000 every year. And I think I'll pull up my schedule real fast, just so you guys can see it.
Feedback on this chair, long term it is not very comfortable.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah.
This is okay.
Personal privilege.
You just want to put loose up there, so.
Yeah,
My footloose chair doesn't roll. If you have any wheels, it would be great.
just so you know, I did message Kevin Bacon through
you?
Instagram. I got no response.
No?
But I did try. Yeah, I'm like, can you come?
I think John Lithgow was the one that actually used it. Maybe you
Yes,
should
he
ask
did.
him.
Well, I was hoping he could come and maybe
Get
bring
them
John
both.
with him.
They get them both. Yeah.
So maybe if we all
I bet you if we
bombarded.
put some signatures on it, we could probably
Yeah, I was thinking we could sell them.
cost for the pay for the marketing. if they
Just tell them
roll.
they can get some money to pay for their kids' college.
That's right. Oh, harsh.
I'm not gonna approve that.
Did you coin the phrase?
Okay, so the agreement, when we signed with Walgreens, it was $391,000 is the tax incentive we gave them, or 20 years. So we have until 2028 that we pay Walgreens, and we have about $243,000 left to pay. So I don't think we'll pay them everything that we agreed to, because we'll run out of time before that happens. So anyways, that's how much we have left to pay them. Any questions on that? Okay, so there's that budget, $14,000.
What's Walgreens doing with the Rite Aid building? Are they just gonna sit there till when, or?
Well, they can't really use it because of the,
I think they have it for sale, but I think UDOT's gonna have to buy it.
Yeah.
They realign.
Okay.
It's scheduled on UDOT's thing to be a taking.
Right.
So I don't think anybody's gonna buy it because
we don't want anybody to buy it other than the state.
No, we don't, but
No.
if nobody's gonna buy it, let's get it out there.
Yeah.
Oh, let's clean it up.
Yeah, weed maintenance.
Yeah, well, just those. Peggy's coming by now.
I think are we at the end of the presentation, Sarah?
Yep, you're done.
Okay, now where do I need to put directors in here, Kim? Right now? Okay, I'll accept the motion from the directors regarding the resolution. We all asleep?
No, I'll make a motion that we accept the resolution to review and adopt the RDA tentative budget for fiscal year 2019-2020.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, so noted, is there a second? Okay, all in favor?
We're going too fast?
Aye.
There was a so.
Only got sugar running through our blood, you know?
All you had in those.
Man, when we do budget sessions, like we need to like get up and walk around.
So,
You were supposed to bring this.
are we adjourned?
Yeah, we adjourned. No, we adjourned from RDA,
Oh, I thought we adjourned.
just RDA. So we're done, there's no closed session?
Do we need to make an amendment? I'll make an amendment. I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda and remove the closed session.
Oh, we don't have to, we just don't have closed session.
He was trying to stay right be on the
I was
ball.
trying to stay on top of it.
No, that's good.
Well, then I'm gonna make a motion that we adjourn.
Wait, did Dave have something? He's been trying to say something.
No, he didn't.
You did, okay.
We don't have a closed session, I was just gonna ask, though, do you want us to set up like a fifth Wednesday and
Yeah.
have a budget meeting?
Yes.
With us, and invite the public and put it out? Okay, we will work on that.
So I need a second to go out,
I said.
to adjourn, okay. All in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Carries.